Hello? Anybody there?
Sunday and
Hi
start the
there.
rest of
We
it.
haven't started yet. We will
Oh, okay.
start early. We're
Okay.
just waiting on forum.
Okay. I was just
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody.
Hey there. All right, good evening, everyone. In the interest of time, I'm going to get started. We do not yet have quorum, so I can't call the meeting to order, but I do want to at least start discussing the calendar for April because I know that there will be a number of changes. I'm going to share my screen. And just to check, because I don't hear anyone responding, can folks on Zoom hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. And then people should be able to see my screen. So this is the April calendar. We've already started to make some adjustments. So land use claimed the 9th at 7 p.m. And then I know housing is moving to the 16th at 6:30, which you'll see. Yes, some of them were.
So wait, land use,
Land use is now on April 9th at 7 p.m.
Right.
and then all those other ones are the ones with health and environment and housing and human services, they also asked, so they all asked to be switched.
Yeah, so health and environment's gonna be, I think Steve said 15th, but I need to confirm that. He sent.
Wonder why that's so badly focused.
I don't know. That was making all noises before too. Maybe.
I think the focus is on the, maybe a focus on remote control. On the
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I was working on looking
Um,
at the minutes, he wasn't here last month.
and then Cedar, I know you're online. Your meeting is on the 8th. I recall us discussing last month about moving your meeting, but I don't know if we landed on a date. Did we land on a date for your meeting?
I believe that we agreed to push to the 15th.
Okay, so you're gonna be the 15th at 6:30.
Correct.
Okay. Anyone else online see something that should be changed?
Nope. Keep them on meeting for the night.
There doesn't seem to be a remote focus, so someone had to get.
This is Erwin here. Aging, we agreed to move to the 6th. Not
The 6th.
not that first Thursday.
Same time, 10:30.
Yeah, same time.
Okay.
Let me just double check that email from Mary.
Yeah, she said she was gonna double.
Tiana, do you see
Yeah,
any
yeah.
issues with
April
aging
6th.
starting at 10:30 on April 6th in here? I don't think there are any blockers to that. It's gonna be a Monday. So, okay. Yeah, that should be fine, Erwin. Thank you.
Erwin, can I get the notes? For the youth and education meeting? That would be great.
Hey, how you doing? I don't have them yet.
Great,
I'll
because I don't have the notes.
email them
That
to you when I get
executive
them.
meeting.
Did you hear me, Tanisha?
He's a disembodied voice.
What did you say?
I'll email them when I have them to you, Tanisha.
Okay, you hear that, Chair, right?
So, health and environment is going to be April 15th at 7 p.m. So we will have two meetings occurring on the 15th. One's going to be licensing at 6:30. They'll probably need this room. So health and environment will have the office
So Health and Environment's gonna move to the 8th.
to the 15th.
To the 5th, okay, wait, so.
I know so licensing
Yeah.
and health and environment will both be on the 15th.
And public safety is staying on the first.
I haven't heard anything about public safety.
Okay.
No, last month he said that he can't change it because,
It's hard to get the
Yeah,
3 seconds right.
Oh, yes, I do remember.
Okay, so if that's settled, I have 5 changes.
Well, I just want to comment that by not doing that, we disenfranchise some of our residents.
Okay. I think my position has been, it is largely based on attendance to those committees. Otherwise, I mean, we'd be making 10 changes this month, given the important dates are the 1st, 2nd, 8th, and 9th, and that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of our meetings.
TNT isn't affected, right?
TNT is not affected, it's the
Right.
sticks. If you're going off of those dates, I mean, it still falls over Passover, but I don't think that that's quote unquote one of the most important dates.
The first 2 days and
And the last 2 days, so then no, traffic and transportation is not affected. All right, if there are no other comments, Liz, welcome.
Thank you.
I think,
Jim already took care of the issues with the April meetings.
yes, all of them have been moved except for public safety and youth,
Public safety,
public the first.
We have our December meeting on the 25th, please.
Any other comments on the April calendar? Okay, seeing none, I'm gonna switch over to May.
I'm sorry,
I'm,
there is no world
yeah,
in which having a meeting on the first night of Passover is appropriate. Either this community board stands for plurality and respect of other people's religions, or it does not. I'm sorry, actually, I'm not sorry if I sound activated over this, but when people are mistreated on the basis of gender, we call that act. When people are mistreated on the basis of race, we call that act.
When
people
I beg to disagree, because I have been a Black woman in this district all of my life, and you said nothing about the 100th year anniversary of Black History Month. The only thing you advocate for is what affects you. So let's not do that. Please, let's not do that.
okay,
Let's definitely.
Okay, I have
Okay.
heard nobody. Hold on, Anthony. Because what we're not going to do is this. I have heard nobody on this committee. We sat and we had a 20-minute conversation.
Was this the
And
last month?
hold on. In February about April meeting, and no one cared about Black History Month. No one. So let's not do that. Because as a person who is a descendant of chattel slavery, we're not
I just
doing
have
that.
one question. Was this a meeting that I was in?
Yes.
No.
No.
But she wasn't in that meeting?
No.
Yes, I was not in that meeting, so.
But Tanisha does raise a good point. No one should bring it up. It's not directed at you in general. This committee, we probably should have discussed having something.
I
for
hear
Black-
no one think anything
I
about
agree.
Black people, so we're not gonna do that.
We're
We all
also
matter.
not gonna have a community board committee meeting
So-
on the first night of Passover.
I know.
I'm not
Eleazar
having
is
a
not
community
present.
board meeting on the first night of Passover.
So public safety is the meeting that's taking place that night. Eleazar is not present. Last month, he made a comment, although I don't recall if he actually said he wasn't moving it. He did state that it was difficult to get the precincts to change their calendars. Nonetheless, I haven't heard from him whether or not he plans on changing it, and I don't think he's online, so I can follow up with him after this meeting to see if he's willing to change.
It was crazy.
Okay. Let's proceed with May. So I have May on the screen. Are there any changes to May that needs to occur?
Isidro's on the swing,
Yes.
so we can discuss this matter.
May.
No,
Public safety is not a
April.
seat. Public safety.
oh, you're
is
right,
only-
it's not, sorry, yeah.
And
Yeah, there's nothing.
Cedar did move his meeting. Okay. I have May on the screen. Any comments for May? Okay, hearing none, I will close that out. I'm gonna quickly look at our attendance to see if we have quorum yet. Five.
Does the community board happen to own a ladder? Or is a ladder available in the building? Because in order to fix the focus, you have, Lori, you actually have to climb up and fiddle with something. There's no remote thing.
We can get a ladder.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
You'll be here. So I'm not gonna just hire.
No, it's 42 that. So
It's so much better.
No,
We haven't called to order yet. All right, I'm gonna jump right into the chair's report. So there are a couple of things I just wanted to address. Starting with A, underneath the agenda with transition of websites. So since I've become chair, I've had a number of conversations with Tai Fujimura, who, as many of you may know, I've asked now to step into the role as chair of the outreach committee, a special committee that I've chartered. He also has a very illustrious background designing websites. That's what he does in his day job. And so he and I have had a number of conversations about our current website, which has a lot of limitations. Those limitations are a result of us being in the city's system and having that nyc.gov privilege, getting the benefit of OTI if we have issues with our website. But those limitations are that we don't really get to design a lot of different things. There are restrictions on the colors we can use, for example, on the background. It all has to match that header that every city agency has to fall within. So given his background, I've asked, how do you think it would affect us, or better yet, how long do you think it would take for us to design a new, more accessible website? And his opinion is given his tools and his experience, he would hopefully be able to get it done within a month. When we first spoke about it, it was something where he had noted that we could do it maybe in March, but I wanted to get some input from this group. And so if anyone has any strong opinions about whether we stay on the city website or we move to a more design-oriented, accessible site, happy to hear those out. I will note, and many of you may know this, just by navigating to the sort of manhattan.cv.gov landing page, there are only 4 of the 12 that are still on the city site in Manhattan. The other 8 have designed their own websites one way or another. So any questions or comments about that?
Now I was wondering if that would affect us if we weren't on their page, but it's not.
Indiana, go ahead.
Thank you. I don't know why oh, there we go. I have no objection to doing that and would just suggest that we link, like on the city's website, we say, you know, here's a link to our like active site or something like that.
That's actually a great point that you raised. So the way it would work is the cbmanhattan.cb.nyc.gov landing page would no longer carry our link, but our link would still appear in the Manhattan Borough President's website. So folks would only be able to find us by organically ending up on our site or going through the Borough President's website if we left the city system.
We have a quorum, by the way.
We do. Okay, we have quorum, so I'm gonna call this meeting to order.
With me.
You did. Okay, it's 6:54.
Yeah, but
It was when you arrived. Do you
Yeah, I brought
roughly
it
know
with
when
me.
you arrived?
6:45.
All right, so I'm calling the meeting to order at 6:45. So that for the record. Any other comments, Jim?
I think insofar as there are all these restrictions with the official website, and that there's probably a bureaucratic delay also, you know, in getting changes and stuff, we should definitely, and especially, and I don't doubt that the Kai will do a wonderful job for us, that we should have our own website and, you know, you know, presumably Kai is well aware of this. We want the website as accessible as possible in the sense that the type is big enough and stuff like that. We don't have crazy colors.
Right.
You know, I had a computer where you could make the background yellow and the letters yellow, but then you couldn't change it because you couldn't see anything anymore.
Right. Like the colors behind it wouldn't change.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Interesting. Any other comments on this so far? It sounds like the consensus is okay with designing our own website.
And Kai has the time to do things in a
Yeah.
timely manner.
He said he can get it done over a couple weekends.
Who's volunteering?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Heidi, go
That
ahead.
is amazing.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, I'm very
similar
impressed with.
point to Jim, especially because it will still be our website. There are certain guidelines which Ty is probably aware of in terms of ADA and web accessibility, so we should be mindful of those. And then I think the other thing that he may also already be thinking about is city websites typically have like a translation option that's sort of embedded in them. I don't know if the CB12 one has, but
It does.
yeah, so you know, city websites have to be available in any language, especially the 10 languages of the city. So that's another thing that we should incorporate into the website if it's not already being done. It's sort of like a whether it's Google Translator or something else, to make sure that it's able to be translated aside from presumably providing materials in Spanish.
Great. Yeah, that's an excellent point too. The other piece that we're bound by is we have to have certain documents on our site at all times,
Right.
like our bylaws,
Right.
our district needs statements, contact information. So I think content-wise, it would be a lift and shift.
Mhm.
Like we wouldn't lose any content
Yeah.
if we went this way. But to your point, all those other things around accessibility, language access, et cetera, those will all have to be satisfied. It's a great point. Anything else before we close out this discussion? Okay, so it sounds like consensus is we can move forward. I'll let Ty know to start constructing something. And then the second.
also convey to him our deep gratitude for his effort.
Yes, absolutely. He's been doing a great job, and he is going to be, if not technically already, a formal member of this committee as the chair of the outreach committee. So he'll start attending next month. We just haven't been communicating
Great.
at that point. All right, and then B is the board templates. So I had circulated updated board templates, and what I've done after lots of experimenting is if you've tested it out, you'll see that rather than having like separate graphics that are situated within the header and footer, it's just an image that gets flattened behind the document. Theoretically should not be moving anytime someone types something. Obviously, there was also the nexus for this change in that Kiana Diaz is our new district manager. She'll speak in a moment. So, of course, her name had to go into the header. But I think I've gotten some feedback, but for the large part, it works better than the January version I sent around. Is that right? Do I have any?
I use Google, so it never
That works.
for me.
Okay, great. That's good. Anyone else have any glitches with these new templates so far?
Except for that.
Yeah.
I haven't tried to use them personally. I hate it, but
The templates?
Yeah, I hate it.
Okay, we can talk about that offline.
No need to. I hate it. It's a minority opinion. I'm over it, but I just want you to know I hate it. I hated it when they were in.
We had more.
Okay. Any other comments on it?
I embarrassingly admit I didn't look in the changes.
Okay. Well, if anyone else has any feedback over the course of the next few weeks, let me know. All right. With that, that is all I have to offer for my chair report. I'm going to turn it now to Kiana Diaz, our new district manager, to give hers.
Hi everybody, thank you so much. So yes, my name is Kiana Diaz. I'm the new district manager. I'm excited to be here with you all today. I'm excited for this opportunity to serve with the community board. So just a few updates. I will, in the next few weeks, I will be setting up meetings with the different chairs just to see how I can be helpful to the priority that you all have. I know that in a little bit, we're gonna be touching on the budget stuff, and the preliminary budget response. And so I want to be helpful with that to all of the chairs. Specifically with the response and how to help them, you know, the community board and go for what we want our final budget vision to be to help bring it to fruition. So yes, so those are the meetings that we will be having over the course of the next few weeks. Also, we are going to be having our RAT Academy next Friday. It's going to be at 1:00. So if you guys know any business owners, any superintendents, please ask them to come through and join us. We have a really big voting problem uptown, as many of you are aware. The other thing is we've also created a tracker for the budget. The agencies have responded, which you all will touch in a minute. We have created a tracker, and I guess we can talk about that more in the coming weeks about how we've done a response to the agency. There will be a public hearing that Youth and Education Committee will be hosting in regard to charter schools in the district, and that will be on the 31st, I believe. Also, we received a request from Assembly Member Colton from Brooklyn. He has a bill that just passed the Assembly, and the bill will require that the community boards, elected and other elected officials receive an advance written notice by the MTA at no less than 30 days when there are planned changes that are going to be happening to our transit service. That way it allows the community stakeholders to assess potential impact and to be able to provide meaningful input before these changes actually take effect. Yes, Liz?
30 days sounds like a long time, but by the time we actually get the notification, we're usually somewhere in the month where like the TNT meeting has already occurred, our general board, like we typically need a 45 or 60 day. What was that? 19. Oh, in order to get to actually provide meaningful feedback. So we just need to be clear on that kind of feedback being able to come from like the district manager in conversation with the chair, maybe the chair of the impacted committee, and not necessarily like a resolution or a public hearing, or because it's very unlikely that the notification is going to exist in a time frame where any of those meetings can occur.
I don't think that they're asking for a resolution to happen anytime that there's going to be a planned change. I think it is about notification. And so let's say, for example, let's say that the BX7 were to be closed, right?
Right.
And we will need a shuttle service to happen, and that shuttle service is not in place, and we don't have the notice before 30 days in advance. By the time that the BX7 already starts functioning, we won't know that the shuttle service isn't there until, right? So this would like provide the notice beforehand, so that at least the stakeholders will know, hey, this is happening, and they can even have the opportunity to ask, well, what is going to be in place if the service is going to be taken away?
Yeah, no, I just think it's going to be important for us as an executive committee and for the larger board to realize and be okay with the fact that the major lift is going to be on the two of you.
Yeah, no, for sure. Which is sort of how it works with excavation
Yeah.
and destruction.
So they're just asking for a resolution. I'm giving it to you.
Yeah,
all.
no, that's fine.
I raised my hand first. I did have it up. I did this. Are they looking for support? Is that what Assemblymember
They're
Cole
looking
reached out for?
It's at the assembly, and now it's being held up at the Senate, and so they just wanted to pass. They're looking
Okay.
for support.
No, I mean, I see you're on tonight. I know Leo wasn't able to make it. I don't know if you were able to catch that, but there is a bill sitting in the assembly that would probably go through your committee. I mean, it's MTA related. So if we could connect Noemi, Leo with whatever email was sent from Assemblymember Colton's office, this way they have an opportunity to look at it and maybe pass some resolution in support.
Okay.
Jim.
That's the end of my report.
Oh, great.
Thank you.
You have one more question, I think.
Sorry,
Well,
Jim.
no, it's a comment, and then now I know there's something else to comment on also. I believe the purpose of this bill is not so much for us to, provide feedback, so much as it is for us to get advance notice so we can get our act together. And I think the sooner, as was pointed out, we learn things, the better off we are. And the better off our community is if we can notify them and stuff like that. Now, I noticed that we have a co-chair of a committee. Is that correct, Anthony?
I think she's using that term, but she is the vice chair.
Okay, because if and when we have co-chairs, we have to discuss what the word co means.
Yeah,
Because in my view, co means co-equal, and like the chair is not above the co-chair. So,
right.
but if she's just using it, that's okay.
Yeah.
Who's even told you?
No, I mean, but I think she means vice chair. No, I mean, right, you're the
Yeah,
vice chair
yeah,
of traffic
sure.
and transportation.
Right.
Sorry, wrong committee, but yes, I'm
Not
vice
a
chair.
problem. Right.
It's the agenda and the resources.
Well, again, we will discuss that if it comes up. It hasn't come up yet because just like we actually don't have a Department of War. It's the sort of
Just made up.
but still the Department of Defense.
It
But
sure
I have this
is.
arch conservative friend who goes, how do you know that?
They don't have to
For
accept
the
it.
purposes of quorum, Noemi is counting towards quorum
For traffic.
for traffic and transportation. Okay.
Right, because she's representing the chair. Right.
And Irwin counts as agenda agent. Yes. Kiana.
Today, we did receive many emails in regard to a boiler situation on 167th Street. They have a petition going around. They have over 150 signatures. Apparently, the boiler, it is at 618 West 169th Street. It is producing soot and smoke, and they're concerned about their health.
Yeah. Yeah, more actively looking at that. Steve.
So this is really, I think, the type of issue that you should deal with directly. I mean, there was something in the email about how they wanted it presented to the Health and Environment Committee. But really, this is sort of a basic service delivery issue. And I was going to reach out to the DEP Borough Commissioner and the Community Affairs people there and ask them to go and inspect it. But actually, I think it's the Columbia University building. I think it's the old School of Nursing building. I was going to first reach out to Sandra Harris and ask her what is the story with this boiler. So maybe you could do that tomorrow. Yeah.
Sounds like something the DEP should be working on.
Yeah, but as a courtesy, at least we could just check with Sandra. I mean, why is that temporary boiler still sitting out in the street? I was going to walk over there after tonight's meeting to double check, but I'm pretty sure it's to the old School of Nursing building.
Okay. I think we sort of just, because they flagged your committee, we sent it to you for input, but that's a good point. We'll take that back into the office. Go from there. All right. With that, thank you so much, Kiana. I'll now turn it to Heidi to give us an update on what's going on in Treasury Land. And I'll just note that we are meeting later this week to discuss our latest crystal report and where things sit. Heidi, take it away.
Yeah, so I think, right now we are in a pretty good spot budgetarily. We currently have a surplus. Basically, the way that the budget works is that it's in two major buckets, right? So one is basically personnel, so salaries and any type of like small expenses related to that. And then basically everything else is the other bucket, and the everything else bucket is mostly rent for this space. And then aside from rent, there's sort of smaller expenses in there about things like postage and cleaning bills and things like that. So the latest Crystal report, which is basically something that's generated that kind of gives an overview of where we are budgetarily. Mostly at this time, again, the bulk of our budget goes towards rent and it goes towards personnel. And then the other expenses that aren't those two buckets we have an available balance at this time of around $18,715. Only one category is currently in the red, but I think it just requires some shifting of funds from one budget category to another. There are some leftover funds that we should try to expend before the end of the fiscal year. There's some money that's left over from the holiday party. There's also some other funds for things like food and snacks that's allocated that we probably won't be able to expend, I think, before the end of the fiscal year.
Put me in charge of that money. I'll spend it soon.
Just let me go crazy at Whole Foods. But I think one thing that we would like to do this before with some of the funds is basically allocate money to get a social media consultant to kind of work on Instagram and maybe some, I don't know, Facebook, I don't know, TikTok, whatever, I don't know, whatever a social media consultant does. And then also work with a consultant on some land use issues. There's also, and so there are certain funds that we need to spend before we can reach out to our electeds for discretionary funding, if I'm not mistaken. So like from our city councilwoman, maybe she can give us some funding, but we need to expend certain budget categories before we ask for more money.
It would help to show that we've spent the money that we got last year.
Yeah.
Otherwise it's-
What's up, Liz?
If you could just send me a quick report for the minutes, I appreciate it.
I will do that.
And Steve, I saw you had a hand at one point.
Yeah, I've always been under the understanding that the rent is in a completely separate category. That basically DCAS negotiates a separate amount of rent for every community board, and well, it's not really part of our base budget. It's not part of the OTPS, so that's like completely off the chart, so to speak. But my other point, though, maybe more serious, is as I've discussed with Anthony in the past. I don't know if this is what you alluded to when you said some money for land use
It was.
consultant.
Yeah.
But is that what it is?
Yes.
But it's to me, it's a broader thing. It's not just land use. It's studying environmental impact statements, brownfield cleanup plans, things that have referred to my committee, which are a real hassle to try to get through. So
Yeah.
I'm
Yes.
really looking for support on that, and especially right now with this EAS from the Zeta Charter School, which
8,000 million pages long.
Yes, yeah, I've never seen anything like it. So
Addressing your first point, yes, it is its own like separate thing that DCAS handles, but it does appear in the Crystal report as part of the OT.
it does as
Yeah,
part of
it does.
OTBS. Okay,
Um,
but it's
so-
not part of our base budget.
No.
Yeah.
Well, no, but they also still demonstrated to us for purposes of just, I guess, treasury keeping.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like in my own spreadsheet is kind of in its own
Okay.
area because it is sort of like a discrete large.
That we have no control.
Yeah.
I mean, they ask us each year to fill out a form, and we did this year. And so, one thing I wanted to just point out, and part of the reason we're doing it this way, and then we're coming to a meeting. Obviously, all of us are fairly new to our roles, so like the three of us are brand new to our roles. There were a lot of things done in the past that don't work. And DCAS, I think, was a bit surprised when we informed them what we were actually paying. I don't know how it was working previously, but the number that Columbia was giving us was not the number that showed up in the budget report, and now we're having to manage that, and there's a whole mess that we're dealing with. So stay tuned.
Well, what does that mean?
Like, what is, yeah, that's
it-
something we was getting less money than it was supposed to be getting.
Yes. No one was siphoning off money.
Money.
It was their number was less than what we were paying. So I don't know how that just the a delta there worked. The number in DCAS and the number that Columbia was somehow receiving through DCAS were different. You're all making faces at me. I made those exact faces in January.
We're not. Right.
They're now they are aware.
They're in
As
alignment.
people are coming next week to
No, next month.
next month to look at stuff. I don't know what exactly they're going to look at or what they're going to do here, but they are trying to negotiate something because it's not right. All prior to our time. Yes, Jim.
I just want to make a comment. The reason for this, which we may all understand, is some community boards meet or have their offices in places that are relatively inexpensive, and other places have they're working expensive places. And that's why it's a separate thing. The operating budget is the same for everything. Or it could be.
Yeah. Indiana, go ahead.
Thank you. Were we overpaying or underpaying?
Somehow we were overpaying, I
Oh.
think. Is that right? Overpaying. Well, I'm gonna try and repeat so the number on our paper we received on the Crystal report was smaller than what the lease requires us to pay.
And we were underpaying.
We were underpaying, yeah.
That's a good thing.
Except
But-
now there are arrears, and so I don't know how we fix that issue.
Wow.
Like there are bills sitting on a desk that we've all now inherited, and we don't know what to do with. So stay tuned. Once more, I don't have a lot more detail beyond that. Okay, we have quorum, so we are now going to turn to the two resolutions I had circulated Saturday, put in the drive. Those of you who are here in person, it is on the table. The first one is in conditional support of Senate Bill 1027 and its companion Assembly Bill 3615. Now, we've been talking about this, I believe, since January, and I'll display the screen so folks on Zoom can see it. I committed last month to putting together a resolution on whether or not we would support this bill. The purpose of the bill is to permanently extend Section 103A of the Public Officers Law, commonly known as part of the meetings law. And this was the provision in that law that enables us to have hybrid meetings, virtual participation, certain folks be able to count as quorum online. There's a bill sitting in Albany that would extend that permanently. Now, when it was first introduced, it was introduced when COVID was at its peak. It was passed for a 2-year period. The legislature extended it for an additional 2 years, and I believe then one more 2-year period. We are now coming to the end. It is set to expire July 1st. So say this bill does not pass and it is not signed into law, what would happen on July 1st is we would have to figure out while we're in hiatus, coming back into fall, what are we doing? Because we can't have people on Zoom. We can voluntarily do like a Zoom presentation where the public can sit and watch what we're doing, but members will only have the in-person option and count in any way towards attendance to vote if this law were to expire. Just to be perfectly clear about that. Now, the bill has its issues, in my view. I'll point one out. The bill requires any public body to, upon request, provide an ASL interpreter. Now, I love that idea just in general, but as we were just discussing, our budget is very limited and that would cost a lot of money if we were ever in that situation. And we use closed captioning as needed. Zoom does offer that feature. So if there were someone right now in the public watching this meeting, they can click a button and listen to everything I'm saying in closed captioning. That's one issue I noticed. The other, maybe it's a little biased, but it requires the presiding officer to always be in person, even when there's.
That was one of my, what the hell does that mean?
Yeah, and it doesn't.
If we let him finish, please.
And it doesn't even
When I don't
enable.
think that's me, I will ask. Thank you.
It
being very cranky today.
The provisions of the law actually don't even incorporate the citation where we're able to go entirely on Zoom in a state of emergency. So in other words, if we did have to make the decision to go completely on Zoom in a state of emergency, the way it reads is I'd still have to be present somewhere in person. That could just be an error in the drafting, but it should be, recognized. So the resolution is available for review. Any questions? I see one from Steve, and then I'll
I
take
have one.
others. Okay, Alexis, Steve, go ahead.
In the first part of the resolve clause, where we say that the public body should be able to establish additional reasons for which a member of the
Yes.
public body may attend virtually. Well, what kind of reasons do we have in mind that would want to add that don't already exist?
It's our bylaws. So by that, if it's so the way it reads is the amended law permits the public body through its written procedures, aka our bylaws, to establish additional reasons for which the public body may attend virtually and count towards quorum.
Yeah.
Right now, all of our reasons do not enable someone to count towards quorum. If someone had to stay at home due to childcare, they're allowed to be in Zoom. They do not count towards our quorum under the current law. I would like for that to change. I know that in some ways disincentivizes folks to come in person because people will take advantage. They'll say they're sick, they'll stay at home, but
Stay
at
home.
least they count towards quorum. And I think that's been our struggle for years now, ever since this provision is passed. So I'll take Alexis and then Liz.
This is just a note on the ASL.
Sorry.
Could they perhaps put something, because this is what I learned for doing like the outreach for Uptown Shakespeare in the Park. Closed captioning doesn't always translate to for those who only use ASL. Is there some way that we can say that people can, if they can request an ASL interpreter in advance? I do know the place that I work with, I mean, is really inexpensive and will work with any budget.
Yeah.
And I'd also be willing to help write a grant
That's great.
for ASL, because like this is what this woman told me. So I thought that if we were gonna do, I'm sorry, the open captioning, right, at one of our shows this summer, that I could forego the ASL, and I was told absolutely not. Because people who use ASL don't always it's like kind of like English as a second language, right? So you might, like, let's say I really spoke Greek, right? Let's say English is my second language. I could understand some things, but I wouldn't be able to grasp everything.
I see.
Okay, so that's ASL users. They can understand, of course, they can read the open captioning, but it's almost like another language for them because they don't have all the same concepts. This is what was explained to me by this woman that I work with.
I see. So the way I wrote the fourth condition was actually first, if you're gonna impose this requirement on community boards, all public bodies, there needs to be a budget for it. Like, figure out a way to fund it. In the alternative, though, if you're not willing to fund this, unless the bill doesn't account for funding for this particular thing, it accounts for funding for something else. I can't recall in this moment what. For Zoom, if people don't have technology already. In the alternative, we have to rely on closed captioning. Now, I'll take your point. If we can voluntarily go and do that, I just don't want to be required by law, because if we don't get a grant, then it does have to come out of our budget.
Right, then I'm saying, like, if we could get a grant and then,
Yes,
so like, so
absolutely.
if somebody contacts the office ahead of time and says, I need an ASL interpreter, that's when we have an ASL interpreter.
That's what the law would require.
Yeah, so I work with an organization called Inclusive Communication Services. And in terms of what other people wanted to charge me, like $500 an interpreter, this woman is gonna have 3 people interpreting Shakespeare in ASL for like $1,000. So if we only need one, that would,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I know, but that's what I'm trying to say, the cost of this organization that I work with. So
I guess my position on it is if we could voluntarily do that without the legal requirement being in place, I'm happy to. Like, I'm very happy going and spending the time to get the grant. And then, yes, anytime someone wants to use it, we leverage that grant. My fear is we're already so budget constricted that if the law is telling us we have to do this and it does come up and we're now spending $1,000, multiple meetings, it's going to deplete our funds very quickly.
Yeah, it's comparable to an unfunded mandate.
Yeah. I think was it Jim first, then Liz, or Jim, go ahead, and then I'll take Liz and then Indiana.
Well, Steve used the words I was gonna use. There's this tendency for state governments and such to create unfunded mandates, which is unreasonable. So that's, I agree that, you know, that should not occur, and if they're not in favor, that's another story. We already have, other reasons beyond. Steve was always over there. We already have other reasons beyond what the open meetings law now states for staying home, although it doesn't make you part of the quorum, right? So that we already have. Now, I understand the quandary that you know, Anthony is in, because on some level, we don't want to, well, we don't want to make it too easy for people to stay home. I find that particularly these hybrid meetings we've been having, I find they're lacking in some very real sense compared to the totally in-person meetings we used to have. We had more people present, we had more lively discussions and stuff. So it's a problem. Now, I'm sort of confused about what Alexis explained, because again, with ASL stands for American Sign Language. It's basically, you know, based upon English. And most people, in fact, I can't think of someone who would understand ASL and not understand English. I'm not done yet. With that presumption, in my mind, and again, I may be wrong, captioning should be appropriate, you know, good enough, you know, English captioning. And again, because of the translation facilities we have, people can get a caption in other foreign languages as well. But, you know, people in Germany do not use ASL. They probably use DSL or whatever it is. You know, there are different sign languages for different languages. So, I just find that somewhat bewildering now. But again, I don't have a problem per se, because if someone, especially because we heard of a way of getting an inexpensive, you know, ASL interpreter, if someone informs us they need ASL and they can't use captioning, then we can certainly do it to fit within our budget. And just to give you a concrete example, our colleague Mary Anderson has great difficulty hearing. And the second we turned on the captioning, her problem was solved, because everything that was said was there before her for her to read. So the captioning is very powerful. So, but again, you know, therefore I don't necessarily disagree with Alexis. There may be people who can't read, you know, they may be dyslexic or whatever, and they need the ASL. And if they need the ASL, if we can provide it, especially since we seem to have this inexpensive source, we should definitely do so. But I agree that there should be no unfunded mandates. If they want us to do something, they should give us the funding to do it.
I have a couple hands, so if you're gonna respond, can I put you at the back?
Do what you gotta do.
Liz, go ahead.
Can someone please clarify for me whether or not the people who are present at this meeting on Zoom count towards quorum? Because if they don't, we in fact do not have a quorum.
Some do and some don't.
Can you please tell me which ones do and which ones
Here's the
don't?
list.
Yeah, so any of them with asterisks, all attendees are exempt, which means they count towards one. So
Indiana.
with Mary, we're here, Indiana, Cedar, LA, so Jim doesn't. And Wayne, I believe. No, Wayne does not.
I have something.
Okay, I'm gonna take the two on Zoom and then
Okay.
get to you. Did you have any other comments, or is that? Indiana, go ahead
We don't have quorum.
with Steve and Krista. 1, 2.
Anthony, Leo, no, Anthony, Tanisha, Alexis, me, Heidi, Steve, Indiana. Oh, Isidro counts. Okay, yes, we do have quorum. but that means we actually only got quorum when Steve arrived, which was at 6:57.
Okay, I will amend the call to order to 6:57. Indiana, go ahead.
Thank you. I would just encourage us to set an example, right? Like we push the city on so many different issues and we try to work towards making the city more accessible. And I think that we should set the example. I understand not getting funding, but then, maybe we somehow condition it, right? We mention the funding, the need for more funding in the resolution, but I think that we should set an example, right? My understanding is that American Sign Language is not directly like translated to like what you're seeing in captions. And, I think that just we shouldn't assume literacy. We should do our role, especially when we're trying to push for accessibility things in other contexts from the city. And so I would encourage us to let's advocate like hell, right, for the funding, whether it comes from the Manhattan Borough President's office or from somewhere else. But I think that we should set an example and hope that we do.
So just to clarify, so with paragraph 4 on the screen, would your position be to just remove the in alternative down?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Let me highlight that and I'll take a quick poll before we go to a vote to see how the voters would take it, because that is substantive, so I can't call that a friendly amendment. Okay, next was Jay. Jay, go ahead. Jay, bye. There you
I
go.
guess I have comments, but I'll ask some questions real quick. You're just afraid that, I mean, the ultimate goal here is to get sort of the legislature to do something. And I was wondering if you're just stuck on this bill, not to sort of say that we shouldn't push for something like this. But I would recommend a complete shift in what you want to do. I think we can do this is fine, but ultimately I have a suggestion that might be more effective to the goal in mind. And that would be one, calling on the city council to pass a resolution to support an extension of the law, because that's the most urgent problem that we have.
Not a city law, it's a state law.
Yeah, well, hold on. Let me finish, please. It's a resolution asking the state they do this all the time. They do resolutions asking the state to do something. So it would be a resolution of the city council in support of an extension of the current law. That's the simplest way. I'm not saying it has to be that specific, but that's the simplest way. And then the second is because you have no one in the legislature that has a bill that extends the law outright. And it's not in the budget, so that means no one's addressing it there. I would recommend we also effectively call on a resolution to basically ask our representatives to introduce a bill to do that simple ask.
Yeah, but Jay, this bill that we're discussing that's sitting in the Senate does that, does it not?
Yeah. It's
Yes, it does that, but if your ultimate goal is to at least get the extension, I can tell you from experience there's a lot of complications with this bill just looking at it. So the unfunded mandates is one of them. So that means ultimately anything that impacts localities will have opposition when there's no money attached to it. Two, there are some things that they change from may to shall, which requires things to be done a certain way. I mean, and I go through this a lot. So one of the examples from that language that I can point to is regarding when you shall use a web-based video conferencing with the ability to enable closed captioning. So you're asking about the sort of sign language. That's not a requirement. Like all they're saying is it has to be web-based and it has to be able to do closed captioning to conduct the meetings.
I'm
And
yeah.
yeah,
No,
go
I'll
ahead.
Go ahead. Please continue.
And you pointed out some of the other issues on like that needs to be changed here related to what's considered a presiding officer because they're not defining it. You just have a lot of issues with the language. Ultimately, I don't think that bill will move. That's what I'm saying. If your ultimate goal is to at least get the extension so we don't go into this rut of everyone being back in person and then you'll never have quorum. I that's just my suggestion. I'm just commenting based on my experience.
Yeah. So I take the point, and Jay does have valuable experience in this realm given his position. I guess my thing is I don't know if I just support extending the legislation as is. Now that said, I get what you're saying. If it were to just expire, it's going to cause logistical issues. One other point I will raise, just sort of as like a tangential context to this conversation, is at the last borough board meeting, there was a discussion for the borough board to pass something. They haven't discussed what, but it could be what Jay is describing. I just wonder, even though this bill isn't going to move, is it a good opportunity to state on the record what we would have liked to see in the law anyway? I don't know. I don't know if I'm willing. Well, what do we have a
So
list? Let's go down the list, and then we'll come
yeah,
back.
and I'll just quickly say, Anthony, like you can do both. You can say this is what we would like to see, and this
Yeah.
is sort of the action we need.
We could just add another resolve clause. All right, I will turn it to Tanisha.
So while we're talking about grants and things, maybe not this month, but the community board budget comes from the state, the city.
Yep.
Well, maybe that's the next thing that we need to do. We need to write a resolution and tell them to give us more money.
Yep.
When's the last time, if we could do a little research and see the last time we got an increase, I'm sure it was 20, 30, 40 years ago. And say, hey, this is not enough. In inflation times, we need a raise, for
Yeah.
lack of better words, for the budget for the community board.
So the borough boards, all five of them, all four of them, Staten Island is. Four of the borough boards are working together on that.
Okay, yeah, because this is ridiculous.
It's something that the current borough president made a priority for him.
Well, I appreciate that.
So we're discussing it this month at our borough board meeting, which is this Thursday.
Okay.
And the goal is to get the attention of the mayor and have that go into the executive budget.
Thank you. And tell them there's a whole bunch of us out here that's on city steps all the time. We'll definitely.
I will also say that our borough president was the one that enacted this change into law.
Yes, when he was a state senator. Yes. The section 103A, the virtual participation.
Okay, so can we get him to help us?
He was a chair of a community board. He's done a lot of things.
Right, so that we got an outline right there.
That's right. Alexis, did you want to comment on the ASL piece?
I say so. It's first of all, sometimes the closed captioning doesn't always translate correctly. Okay, and if there's certain things, it's particularly if you were born deaf, there's certain concepts that we can talk about, but isn't grasped in the way we say it. So if I say, that area over there, sometimes they'll be like, what does that mean? Like, what area? What do you mean area? So there's certain concepts that are not grasped or that can be missed via closed captioning.
I see.
So I'm just saying is if there is someone who wants to come to the meeting and they want to request an ASL interpreter in advance, that wouldn't feel, I don't think that would be so burdensome because I'm thinking, especially for the person I work with, it would maybe be $300. That's it. But I'm just talking about thinking about general meetings. So.
Okay.
I can do some research on ASL funding and good captioning services that might not cost an arm and a leg.
Well, would you support Indiana's proposal of just, I know it's blurry up there, but eliminating that second sentence in the fourth paragraph or the fourth condition that says that we say remove the requirement altogether, but really we should just be pushing as a condition the funding aspect of it?
Yes.
Okay, I'm hearing people align with that, yes?
Yeah, I was
Yes.
just trying to explain the
All right.
concept of how like it was explained to me.
No, I think we're addressing it by removing that sentence.
I think
So-
we're speaking in turns.
Yep, so done with that. Liz, you are next. Liz, go.
Indeed. So a couple of things. One is how deaf people understand language that is written is different than ASL for the reasons that Alexis began to describe. But I think it is true that many people who don't hear do fine with closed captioning, even given the deficits in accuracy of closed captioning. So most of the deaf people that I know will go with closed captioning and will not, they will say, well, I need an ASL interpreter. Hold on. Do you have closed captioning enabled? And if we do, then they would not necessarily require an ASL interpreter. That said, in this matter, as in many other matters, what I think is kind of irrelevant because I am not myself deaf. And while I do know that many deaf people are fine with closed captioning, if the deaf community is saying we need X, in the same way that it's not okay that, women get to say what's sexist, Latinos get to say what's anti, the person who's in the group gets to define what is whatever ist. So in this case, the folks in the deaf community get to define what is or isn't ableist and what does or doesn't meet their needs. We as hearing people don't. I would love to Steve's and Jim's point. I'm fine with taking out that sentence. But I would love for the phrase unfunded mandate to show up in this reso in some way. So that when we're talking about needing funding for something, how exactly you do it, I think it belongs in there, but I think it is important for us to be able to talk about our desire to lead the way in terms of accessibility, but to be real about the costs. I would also, on section 3, the language is really dense. And I had to read it 5 or 6 times, accompanied by your verbal explanation of what you meant by it. So I haven't been able to come up with clarifying a different way to say this, but I think this needs to be reworked in some way so that your meaning is a little clearer.
I'll take that back and see how I can probably just break that up and make it clear.
Yeah, I mean, I would also say that I prefer in person. There are so many ways in which, I have an exemption. I could have Zoomed. It would have been much easier, but I am here because that just makes for, in theory, a better meeting experience, my actual experience this evening notwithstanding. But there are so many ways in which having Zoom capability is really important, and it would be a huge loss to not have that. There are any number of times when there are so many times when we've had meetings that are attended by 100 people. Because 75 of them are on Zoom, and we can't accommodate that here. It's not so much the general meetings, but committee meetings, you know, when Tanisha's doing something important, this public hearing that she's gonna be having, there are a lot of people, I am confident, who wanna know what's happening in that meeting, who will not be able to get there. And, you know, most of them are members of the public who are not bound by any of this, but some of them are gonna be members of the board who would love to be able to hear what do people have to say, but can't come in person. So I think it would be sad if we didn't speak out in some way in support of using all of the technology that we have to come together and talk about these things.
Thank you for that. So I have two new hands, Jim.
And when
Is there-
Luana had said she doesn't have the raised hand.
I know, I wrote her on the list. Do you have a quick comment, or can I put you at the bottom under the new hands? It's up to you. If you want to go now, go for it.
I have a lot to say, so why don't you move me later?
Okay.
I just have a point that I want to second Liz, that, yeah, it's just really quick. It's equitable.
Yes.
This is about equity. We have a platform where we can, you know, some days I'm not stable enough to come in this place, and y'all don't want me in here. So it needs to be, this is all about equity. Everybody running around talking about equity, but they want to take one of the advices, like we have to, like, we shouldn't even be having this conversation because the state should have picked up on this in the first place and been like, let's make sure that we putting this back in the budget and that it's permanent. I will also ask that it be permanent, like not just for a year, permanent.
Right. And this bill does that. Luana and then Heidi. Luana, go ahead.
I'm muting myself. Hi, I just put my questions in the chat because somehow my Zoom doesn't allow me, I don't have the raise hand function, and my apologies for not being there. I'm not feeling well at all. So trust me, I love being there in person. No, I just wanted to say that if anybody needs some guidance with language access, I know a little bit about that. Sarcasm, that is my full-time job. And the one thing that I will say is that the deaf and hard of hearing community is one of the most neglected populations when it comes to equity within the realms of language access. That being said, this initiative has to be carefully planned. Interpreting in any language, including ASL, is extremely taxing. So this is why it is recommended that one hires two of them. They take turns interpreting. But I just wanted to say that happy to continue the conversation if we are considering this course of action, which I think it is necessary, and I think we should be leading the charge rather. But then the question becomes, which meetings will be interpreted and such? Like what are the logistics behind it? I also wanted to say that the Department of Labor, I think, has a grant, an apprenticeship grant, that serves the purpose of providing services under an apprenticeship. So that might be something to alleviate the cost. I do think it should come from the city budget, not from individual community boards. And also the city does have a dedicated language access office under Moya. So like I said, my comment is that we can continue the conversation. I'm happy to partake in mapping this out. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just quickly touch on your point, which committees. It would require that person who wants the interpreter to notify that they're attending a meeting and they want an ASL interpreter. So that would be which committees.
Is there a stipulated time frame?
Not in the law. So I guess that would go through whatever the written procedures are of each public body. Okay. Who's next? Jim. Oh no, I'm sorry. Heidi. Then Jim. Heidi, go.
Yeah, I think I don't know if this is like too legalistic, but we could add something in this subsection about making sure that the cost doesn't pose an undue burden. Right. So under Title II of the ADA, right? We're a Title II provider. That's not what I withdraw that. We are subject to Title II of the ADA, right? So cost is generally not a factor that we're supposed to consider when thinking about how to provide accessibility, but unless it poses an undue burden, right? So when you're thinking about the cost, it might be take it as a friendly amendment or leave it. Whether that might be something you want to put in there about why it is that the cost is important. And then I think otherwise I'm also amenable to a further discussion about what ramping up such services would look like from a practical standpoint.
I'm sorry, you said title what?
Title II of the
ADA, okay.
Jim?
But-
Oh,
So just to clarify, your point being that undue burden is sort of the magic words that possibly exempt someone from complying with, got it, thank you.
yeah. Jim, go
Thank
ahead.
you. I have several scattered points. Let me clarify my attitude about ASL. I am not opposed to it at all. I think if someone needs it, we should, and we can provide it, and we have funding to provide it, we should definitely do so. But what I said rather ineloquently earlier is that in my mind, and I may be wrong, that the captioning may be the next best thing if you can't do the ASL. So that's one point. Another point, addressing what Jay mentioned. I think we should be doing three things at the same time with this resolution. One of them is supporting what this resolution in the state legislature with our comments on it. Secondly, as Jay suggests, we should also ask the city council to do their thing to support the resolution as well. I believe that's what he mentioned. And the third thing, as Anthony mentioned, is even if none of these efforts on our part work, we will have made a statement as to what we think ought to be. So, I'm totally in favor of this resolution because, and we should include, Jay's suggestion so that we do all these three things. I'll save the hard one for, if in fact this came up earlier, I'm just reading what people have said. If in fact we have in-person meetings, we should still broadcast them or put them on Zoom so that the public can watch them remotely. So they might not be able to participate, maybe they will, but we would want as many people to be aware of what we're doing as possible. Now, with the crazy language for in-person, and again, Anthony indicated this might be some flaw in the original bill. My question to Anthony earlier when I wrote to him was in-person where? He's always in person wherever he is. So, does he have to come to the community board office where nobody is? So that just needs to be clarified. And at the moment, it's just sort of silly, in my view. Now, the final thing I just want to mention, and again, I don't want to, be politically incorrect or anything, but the deaf community, at least last I looked, is at war with itself because there's some members of the deaf community who feel that people who cannot hear should only be using ASL to communicate. There's a whole other group that believes that lip reading and stuff like that is also okay. And, there have been various TV programs in Gallaudet University insist everything be done with ASL. But there are other groups, there are a lot of deaf people who in fact don't need to use ASL and they can't hear it all either. They've learned to lip read and they've learned to do other things. So I just wanted to point that out and the bottom line being that, again, I'll go back to what I said earlier. If someone needs ASL and we can, consistent with being able to afford it, we can do that, then we should do that. But again, to reiterate the other point, And again, there may be a difference between people who are born deaf and people like Mary who now have great difficulty hearing, but she was hearing all along and she reads English very well. So again, insofar as someone needs an ASL accommodation, we should definitely try to provide it. But in my view, the next best thing, which may just be that for some people, not good enough, would be the captioning. And in my view, by the way, because I've been watching the captioning, we don't have it on at the moment. I find it works remarkably well. It's hardly perfect, but I find Zoom's captioning actually works remarkably well. Now, there may be other captioning systems that work better. And again, if we can afford them, we should take advantage.
Yeah, I think we went through that a little bit last year. Okay. I don't see any more hands. I do want to just do sort of a nodding poll on whether we're going to accept Jay's suggestion of adding a separate resolved clause. And I think I put it at the top that's simply addressed to our city council to pass a resolution asking our state legislature to, at a minimum, extend the law as is. If you're not going to get this bill through, at least extend this law as is. Do we?
Yeah.
That would be in addition to what we're already doing.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it's like all or nothing, in my view. It's either
Sounds contrary to the whole thrust of our resolution here.
I think it.
Why not just tack it on to the last resolved and say, in which you're calling upon elected officials to advocate for these proposed amendments? You could say, including our council members passing a resolution in support.
Also fine.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
But can I also just I think you also have some extra language here in numbers 3 and 4, in which you say the appointed boards, which likely includes Community Boards of Manhattan. I don't think you need to say that. I think the presumption is that everything here applies to Community Boards.
It is appointed boards is not defined. I mean, theoretically, we are.
We are, yeah.
By the general term, but you can argue in court that maybe we're not.
Well,
To Steve's point, because that language appears several places in the reso.
Put it once.
If you put it once and then say hereafter referred to as whatever.
Yeah.
I think that would enhance the readability of the subsequent uses of that phrase, because that would just be some extra words removed.
Okay. Thank you. So I've accepted all the friendly amendments. The more substantive ones we've solved. Do I have a motion to pass as amended? Liz?
I would move that.
Second.
Steve seconds. Do I do roll call now, or should we get through the second resolution? I guess let's
go through the other.
Yeah, let's do the second resolution as well, where we vote. Okay. Sorry. Let me just get this open. So the next resolution, similarly, I've been talking since January about the citywide statement of needs for this upcoming fiscal year. And what
Sorry
this
to interrupt.
resolution. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to get clarity because the screen moved a little bit before I saw it. So we will add a specific reference to the city council to do
Yes.
something. Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So the next resolution is authorizing us to submit a common letter on the citywide statement of needs. We've discussed this now for the last 2 months. So the resolution under the resolved clause does account for some of the discussion points that we've addressed in previous meetings. Typically what we do with resolutions, for those who don't know, is when we prepare it for agency submission, we essentially just take the body of the resolution, put it in the body of a letter, and then or whoever's the chair signs that with, of course, the formalities of a letter, such as who's it addressed to, the address of the addressee, etc. I don't know if that necessarily works here with this common letter. I think it needs to be written in paragraph format without all the whereases and resolves. So what I am asking through this resolution is approve us taking the substantive contents that I put in the resolution and allow me to write a letter with it in a nutshell. Any questions about the substance in this resolution?
I have a question. That's
Liz?
this one?
No.
No,
Oh.
that we're getting to later. This is
My bad. Oh, yeah, there's the one that I didn't print out, but yes, that is a really good idea.
Okay, thank you,
I would
Liz.
support that.
Steve?
Yeah, I've, first of all, I used to read this document, all the time, every year.
Yeah.
I don't it may just be that this document, is only supposed to talk about, real estate and office needs. I don't think it's meant to talk about, personnel needs of the agencies. Is your impression otherwise?
So it is mostly real estate. Then there's a portion on education funding. So the needs of the DOE with respect to certain projects that they're doing. I mean, there's no introduction that states that it should just be limited to real estate, like office needs.
We should take a look at the charter, because this is one of those, charter requirements. We want to see what it is the charter says.
Okay. So is your suggestion to remove it's not really a condition, the number around, is it 3? Item 3 strongly recommends that all administrative agencies broaden their list for the next citywide statement? Because the other ones address office needs. The other two are about what is already covered.
Yes, yeah. No, but I just think it would be stronger if we knew for a fact whether or not, well, actually, yeah, I'm not sure about this one.
Okay, any other questions?
But let me just finish.
Okay.
There are a couple of places here where you say, New York, New York.
Yeah.
It's a little weird.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost as though you're about to break out in a singing, singing
I
the
changed
song.
it to Manhattan.
Yes, yeah,
Okay,
please.
Great.
And the lower part of Manhattan. I don't think you have to say Washington Heights and Inwood neighborhoods of New York, New York. You can just say Washington Heights and Inwood neighborhoods. And with respect to number 2,
Yeah.
and especially since most of the most of what's being displaced from 100 Gold Street is our HPD offices. And I think we had this discussion in a prior exec meeting. Do we want to say that we call upon all administrative agencies in need of new office space, in particular, the Department of Housing Preservation and
No.
Development, to search for some more needed space within Washington Heights and Inwood? Do we want to single them out as a potential agency that could relocate here?
I thought about that. I went back and forth in drafting. I wasn't sure if I wanted to just call out one, because there are many in 100 Gold Street that are being displaced, but HPD is one of the larger ones.
Well, I think it's the largest.
Probably. I'm happy to do that if others agree to call out HPD. Okay, so I will add that. Do you have any comments before I move on to others?
No, I'm done.
Okay, Jim?
Okay, so I agree that, authorizing you to write a letter might explain things better. That's perfectly fine. In terms of what, this document we're discussing should or, ought to contain or whatever, you could probably reach out to the law department and they may have a better idea. Or you could have, the Borough President's Council do that, because there's probably some real factual data somewhere. And then we'd be talking about the right thing. I agree that you should either speak of Manhattan or you should speak of New York County in terms of,
Okay.
And the other thing which I mentioned in writing to you earlier, you have to in my view, you should specifically talk about Community District 12. Because there are parts of the example I gave is there's an area where the polo grounds used to be, down the bottom of the hill where the Harlem River Drive is.
Where the polo grounds used to be?
Yeah, they're not there anymore. In case you hadn't noticed, there are huge housing projects there. They are probably.
You mean the Polo Grounds specifically as a sporting facility?
Oh, okay. I was
As opposed to the
wait a
polo
minute.
grounds.
Okay.
I'm so old.
Hey, wait a minute.
I have to understand I'm speaking to the youngins. Okay, there used to be this stadium called the Polo Grounds.
Okay.
Where the Polo Grounds housing is. That I believe if you ask those people if they live in Washington Heights, they would say yes.
Oh, no, they wouldn't.
Are you
Oh,
kidding?
no.
Baby.
No.
Well, but I think we should specify District 12 anyway.
Okay, so anywhere I'd say Washington Heights and Inwood, the district served by Community Board 12?
No, it's
No,
called, so
community-
it's, the term of art is Community District
District 12.
12 Manhattan.
Okay,
Sometime when we're talking about the group, we call it point of information. When we talk about
There are
the
no.
group,
But we'll go on with it. Go on.
go ahead, please.
when we talk about the group, we refer to it as Community Board 12 Manhattan. When we talk about the area that we serve and represent, we call it Community District 12 Manhattan. We might colloquially at some point reference the neighborhoods of Washington Heights and Inwood, but in general, if we're trying to be clear, we would call it Community District 12 Manhattan.
Got it. So I will replace it with those.
And you
Right.
could also do,
Nomenclature.
the district.
Right. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm gonna share, I just quickly looked it up. So the executive summary of the citywide statement of needs defines needs as issues that require attention, investment, or improvement. It doesn't say in the executive, it does discuss that it comes out of the capital side of the budget, the capital planning, but it doesn't say that all of them need to be office space.
Yeah,
And that's all that's discussed in this entire document.
well, then they keep number 3 as it is.
Okay. Do people agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, if you can get additional guidance from the law department.
I will. Yeah.
You know.
I mean, if they'll respond before April 8th. But yes, I will ask tomorrow. So this way I've given them ample time to. Any other
I would even quote
this?
that line
Yeah.
and stick it in and say.
Stick it in, yeah.
That, it should also include, as the city charter mentions, various, whatever that's, improvements, whatever, et cetera.
Whatever the hell.
Pension investment or
Yeah,
okay, I will do that. Any other questions about this resolution?
No.
Do I have a motion to pass
I move.
as amended?
Second.
Okay,
So in the resolution, are we stating that this will be delivered in the form of a letter?
yes.
Yes.
It authorizes, yes, submit a
Good.
comment letter. Okay, so I think we're on to roll call. Who does it here?
I'll do it. Noemi Diaz for TNT.
Yes, sorry. You guys hear me? Hello?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Tanisha, second vice and youth and ed.
Yes.
Alexis,
Yes.
I vote yes. Heidi,
Yes.
Erwin for Mary,
Yes.
Radia,
Yes.
Steve,
yes, I'm both.
Indiana,
I'm going to not abstain on the one where we added about like the housing where we added the membership where we added the reference to the council, and then yes on this second one about
Hang
the
on.
offices.
You're conflicted, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, tell us
Okay,
your
that's-
conflict. You don't abstain,
Conflict
you
of
have this-
interest. Yes, apologies. Yes.
So you're not voting? Right.
On the
Yes.
first
because you work
one,
for the council.
correct. I work for city council.
Okay, Cedro,
Yes.
And Liz, just want to make sure I'm a yes on the second resolution.
yeah, that was clear. Wayne,
Yes to each.
Eleazar is absent. Luana,
Yes to both.
Jim,
I don't get the vote.
okay. Anthony,
I vote yes to both.
okay, they pass, they both pass unanimously. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, They both passed unanimously, the first with 12 votes. And the second with 13 votes.
Thank you. Okay, that takes us to the next part of the
Can I
agenda.
just make a comment?
Sure.
Reinforce what I said earlier. For the heck of it, I looked up sign languages. There are hundreds of them, and in fact, British English has their own sign language.
Yes.
That it does.
So I mean, obviously, we would use ASL, and in fact, in the Dominican Republic, they actually use ASL. And it was on my interesting list.
Thank you. We're gonna move on to old business where I have the poll results for defining late and updating the bylaws. So I guess where this takes us, I shared and Jim had pointed out to me that, some of these graphics do cut off the key. And this is just what Google produces, so I was hoping, folks would cross-check the way it appeared in the survey itself. I'm happy to pull up the survey itself as well. But I'm just gonna quickly run through them, and if folks are amenable, I think the next steps are we take the action of one, amending the procedure to incorporate this definition, and two, I would suggest changes for our next executive committee meeting to our bylaws. What is the most preferred way of defining late? The majority who did respond by the deadline said 15 minutes with 55.6%. So that's 55 minutes after the time the meeting is scheduled for.
You mean 15?
15.
15 minutes.
15 minutes after the time the meeting is
Right.
scheduled for. What does that mean? This meeting was scheduled for 6:30. If you arrived after 6:45, that is the majority rule. And least was a bit more mixed, but folks said they were least favored or least preferred 45 minutes after the meeting is called to order for defining late, which makes sense. That's quite a lot of time. This one obviously a little more diverse in responses.
I mean, it looks like the least preferred is 15 minutes.
No.
No.
What are you looking at?
The 33.3%.
No, we're looking at the next graph.
Oh, let me see your colors. Yeah, again, Google. That's like turquoise. That matches the third from the bottom color. No one said 15.
Sorry, do you want to look here?
It's
Oh,
yeah, again,
Mhm.
Google. Can you do? So in that case, what we can discuss more, but for now, the going position would be late is defined as 15 minutes after the meeting, the time the meeting is scheduled for. Okay. And that is for, that is for general meetings. So then we also asked about committee meetings and we got the same response. Same number of people said 15 minutes after the time the meeting is scheduled for. So majority rule is that for committee meetings, you are late if you show up 15 minutes after the time the meeting is scheduled. Meeting's supposed to start at 7 o'clock. If you show up at 7:16, you're late. I see hands, I'll take them at the end. And then the second part of this survey was to address the bylaws and recall that the current bylaws, well, I have hands, I'll take a list, but I want to get through this first. The current bylaws use the phrase substantial portion of the meeting. But obviously that's undefined, it's very vague. I've mentioned this in the past, so I asked in the survey, what do folks think? Are there options here? I'm actually gonna pull up the survey because it is cut off here. I'll tell you what I wrote. But this one actually didn't get a majority vote. We got a plurality, but not a majority, so we should discuss that one for a little bit. So I'm gonna go back and forth here, but so here's the survey. This is for this section. It looks like plurality went with the bylaws should be amended. The agreed upon definition of lateness should be added. Sorry, everyone. Should be added, and a certain amount of latenesses should lead to grounds for removal, but the substantial portion standard should remain and separately clarified. That's what the plurality went with. And to save us time, I'm not going to go with what was least favored. Oh, I'm sorry. No, then this is how do we clarify substantial portion? I got a majority here that said substantial portion should mean at least 50% of the total duration of any committee meeting.
50%.
80. Sorry, did I say 50?
You did.
I'm doing my best to go back and forth here with these different things. So it's I'm just gonna read it out loud. This is how substantial portion would be defined. At least 80% or 4/5 of the total duration of any committee meeting and attendance and participation during the public session and roll call portions of any general meeting. That's what the majority says the term substantial portion should be defined as. And with that, that takes us to the end of the survey. I had Steve first, and then I'll go to our two hands on Zoom. Steve, go for it.
Well, I didn't have the language, so it wasn't clear to me what was being said here. But number one, I would be I would be not very wary of taking any action based on a survey in which less than 1/5 of our board has responded, only 9 responses. That's hardly representative of the entire board.
This is a survey of the executive committee that's proposing the resolution.
Oh, I take it back. Okay. So I'm not clear, what is the penalty? The bylaws would be amended to say that a certain number of latenesses could lead to removal?
Yep.
What does that be? How many latenesses?
For removal.
That part we haven't gotten to. Yes, it would be grounds for removal. So obviously the board would still have to vote the same way we do with, the attendance issue. But I guess I would have to come up with that standard. We can mirror the same standards that we already have in place. They would just be for latencies. Which I think is 3 in a 6-month period.
Well, let me say in my defense that I am often late, but I am also, I believe, one of the more productive members of this board. And I believe I contribute to every meeting I attend, and that I can contribute in a productive way.
You're not on trial, Steve.
So there are other ways to measure somebody's performance besides whether they are late.
I agree. My hope is, and I know, Steve, you have responsibilities outside this board that take many hours of the night, mainly presenting to other boards. But I think we need to incentivize somehow getting people to show up on time. I have Wayne and then Liz. Oh, and then Jim. Wayne, go for it.
Thanks. So just in terms of defining late as if you arrive 15 minutes after the scheduled start time, I'm assuming, but I don't want to assume that, if you are scheduled to be late, or if you're scheduled to arrive after 15 minutes, you are not considered late because it's arranged in advance. Is that the case?
No.
Hold on.
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
No, it's a good point. If someone,
Well, I mean, for example, for tonight's meeting, there was a city planning webinar that overlapped with this meeting. So Anthony and Alexis knew in advance that I would arrive 30 minutes after the start time, and they knew that several days before today's meeting started. So they knew when I would arrive.
yeah,
And similarly, for land use, in most cases, if a committee member is going to be late, they notify me well in advance, so I know when they are scheduled to arrive. So my question is, are we saying that if they arrive 15 minutes late with no notice, or if they arrive 15 minutes late regardless of notice?
yeah, that's a good clarifying point. Which when I put it in the bylaws, I think obviously we'll have to account for without notice, because there are situations where for example, as Wayne pointed out, he participated in a webinar that benefits his role on this board, how, that
Actually benefits the whole board because it impacts the changes to the charter.
Yes, yes. Okay. Thanks, Wayne. I'll take that in when I propose or start making edits to the bylaws for proposal amongst this body. Liz, go ahead.
Well, a couple of things. One is in our bylaws, we distinguish between absences and excused absences. And we have some reasons for which an absence is excused. And one of them is if you're attending something else specifically at the request of the chair or the borough president. So if we're going to have something in the bylaws that addresses lateness, I think that we should differentiate between excused lateness and lateness. And among the things for which a lateness, I would like to think that the kinds of things that excuse an absence are similar to the kinds of things that excuse lateness. And I would probably add, yes, we know that public transportation, there are vagaries there, and we should plan for not the ideal transit. Under ideal conditions, it takes me 20 minutes to get here, so I'm going to give myself 20 minutes to get here. No, you should give yourself ample time to include transit hiccups. But when there's a track fire and something, and you're an hour late because you were stuck underground, that would be, I think, an excused lateness in a way that doesn't really apply to absence. Transit is not typically so bad that someone misses a meeting altogether because of transit. The other thing is there are ways in which being late can be disruptive particularly if the person running the meeting is unaware of it. So even if it's not an excused lateness, if you're running a meeting and someone's going to be late, maybe you're not sitting there looking at your watch wondering, hey, where's Alexis? You start the meeting and you say, we're going to start this in the absence of a quorum because we know that Alexis is going to be here 45 minutes late because something. And we're going to do these things on the agenda that don't require a quorum. And then when she gets here, that's when we'll start talking about the resolution that we need to vote on. So there's that piece. I also think that if we're going to include lateness as a standard for the possibility of removing someone or sanctioning someone, that we do consider, to Steve's point, if you're always late and you always leave early, and frankly, leaving early should probably be part of the
people leave early.
substantive. Sometimes they do. Yeah, sometimes they do. But to Steve's point, like if you're the kind of person who shows up late, leaves early, and doesn't really bring much to the party while you're there, that's really different, not to put you on the spot, from somebody who is, I would say, pretty consistently not on time, but always adds a lot to the meeting. So, I don't want to call it like the Steve rule, but, I would, and frankly, even if you or someone who has your attendance patterns, similar attendance patterns, were notified like, hey, there's a lateness problem, I don't imagine any scenario under which the rest of the board would be like, yeah, let's kick them off the board. I mean, I think that would be a discussion. So I'm okay with the 15 minutes late thing. I say this as a person who has my own tardiness issues. I feel you, Steve. I do also think that as a matter of practice, we should, in addition to encouraging good attendance and punctuality, we should remind people that if they are late, they should always make a habit of finding out what it is they might have missed before speaking to a particular thing. Because if it had already been addressed, then that's like a waste of everybody's time.
Totally.
But yeah, that's what I got.
Thank you. Jim?
Thank you. I like Liz's suggestion of the excused latenesses, and I think that would address Wayne's point. Now another thing is the whole reason we want to have a lateness, penalty or whatever, is we want to maximize the attendance of members at meetings. Because although I agree that, and I won't mention any names, certain people are an absolute asset when they're here. Steve, I'm talking about you.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. You'd be an even bigger asset if you were here more. So that's the reason we have this lateness thing. The other thing is, in order to get to the point where the board will wonder about, whether you should be sanctioned or not, you have to be late many times. And one of the reasons there are requirements like this is there might be a transit delay, and that would be taken care of by the one lateness or whatever. So again, we want to keep the language we create as simple as possible. And again, because we allow multiple latenesses, I don't think we have to go into quite the detail, although I understand what Liz is talking about.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna close it there. For next month, I will bring something. I don't know if I will quite have. Oh, did you have a comment?
Just when this all came about because I noticed when taking attendance and as being secretary now for the second year in a row, that people just are coming in whenever they darn well feel like it. And it's just not fair to those who show up consistently, no matter what is going on.
Yeah.
And then they want to chime in when, or disrupt the meeting on something we've already covered. So that's why I wanted this added, because I want clarity, because if people aren't going to take this seriously and they're going to consistently show up late and bring nothing, there has to be a repercussion.
Thank you for that.
Can I add one thing?
I didn't say anything. I just want to say that I have OCD, all right? So I really try to be cognizant. So I will reach out to my committee.
And I've seen you do that.
Before the meeting. No one reaches out back. If you know that you're going to be late, if you know that something is happening, just let us know, because as committee chairs, we're sitting here. If we want to pass a resolution, we need quorum. Like hitting me 10 minutes before the meeting is unacceptable, because I'm not looking at my email 10 minutes before the meeting. But if I have the courtesy and the forethought to reach out to my committee and say, listen, our meeting is coming up. Here's the agenda. Let me know if you can't come or whatever, and you're just not responding. I think that's absolutely disrespectful, because I have 1,000 jobs. I'm sorry. I'm hard pressed to say that there are many people here that work as hard as I do, or for free, in as many places that I am in. And I'm disabled. So if I can be here, then I don't see why you can't answer an email. That's my issue, because I always take my due diligence to reach out to my committee. No one says anything back. Also, with the notes, we are in the second week of the month. That means that the next week we will have our executive committee. If you decide that you're going to take notes, have those notes to me before executive committee. I don't think that's too much to ask, because if I have to do it by myself, then I can be on the committee by myself. This is an obligation for all of us. All of us had to go through something to be on the community board. I don't understand why we get on the community board and then don't want to hold up to our responsibilities. That makes it harder for other people, especially chairs. And I don't like it, Anthony. So I'm gonna leave it there, because I do my due diligence, and it's disrespectful if I give you the respect as a chair to reach out to you and say, hey, if there's any problems, if anyone can't make it and y'all don't answer me, like, that's gonna start tension, and that's gonna start a problem, because you're being disrespectful and there's no reason to. I'll leave it there.
Thanks, Tanisha. Jim, and then I have to close.
Oh, absolutely. I just want to second Alexa's point. If someone brings up something that, was already discussed, either at a committee meeting or at the general meeting, more likely at a committee meeting, They're simply out of order because it was already discussed and that's the end of it.
Thank you. All right, with that, I will present next month something, whether it's an outline or actual revisions, proposed revisions to the bylaws. You'll see that next month. The next thing I think will take us a little time. So I do just ask, getting ahead of it now, announcements, if we could limit our committees to announcements tonight. Of course, you're more than welcome to use your 3 minutes. I request that if we could limit to announcements this month, that would be appreciated. The next thing on the agenda, item 8, under new business, is discussing the board's position on the preliminary budget. I have a couple of comments going into this. This was a this was new to me. Since 2023, I don't recall us doing this portion of the budget. Of course, I recall the exercise we do every October, where we had a ranking system previously across all of our different budget items, both capital and expense, and this year they changed that. But we have been asked by the borough president to put together like a top 3 summary, so to speak, that would go at the top of our district needs statement. Presently, if you go on our website and you see the most recent one on there, which I think is like 2 years old, it's outdated. Of course, talks about very specific things about COVID that are not occurring currently. For example, affordable housing is still there, but the numbers it references are outdated. Here, what I did is I tried to draft something. I got wonderful feedback from our district manager about the specificity needed for it, meaning we should probably put numbers around these things, like what are we asking for in the budget? So when we say affordable housing, like how much of the budget should be going to affordable housing? This is due tomorrow to the borough president. We learned about it Wednesday last week, Thursday. When did you call me? So here we are. We wanted, of course, some input. I think I'm going to have to get this ratified by the board, but we need to submit something. I want to submit something. I don't know if we have in the past. I don't believe we have, at least not to a larger exercise. With that, those are my opening remarks. I see Liz's hand and then Steve's. Liz, go ahead.
I mean, look, who are we kidding? The answer to the preliminary budget is we always need more of everything.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that you pulled together like what are the top 3 things. And by doing that, it doesn't mean that we think the hundreds of other things aren't important. But I think we kind of shoot ourselves in the foot when we have so many things that, it's kind of hard to figure out what to do. That said, the third item is not actually entirely clear to me. What it sounds like, and might be what you meant, is that we're having a problem with IV drug use and the needle garbage, and that we really need to get on that. And while I do believe that's true, it feels ironic to me in like the worst possible way that left unaddressed is we have an IV drug use problem. And in addition to the needle garbage, which is a huge problem, addiction treatment services, like if we had more of that, that might take care of the needle garbage. So my sense of this is you kind of meant that, but I think some kind of words like addiction services, addiction treatment services, that this item 3 needs to address not only the detritus of the drug use and cleaning up after that, but the drug use itself. And that, sort of lumping that together would be helpful. The other, there are 3 other things that come to my mind as being things we talk about a lot as needing funding. One of those is accessibility of train stations. One of those is public bathrooms generally.
That's a good one.
And particularly public bathrooms in parks, which are sort of the easiest places to put them. And The third, which is very, very specific, is Gorman Park. And the reason I mention that is because it is insanely expensive in a way that can't be just in the lap of the councilwoman.
I know.
Because it's this whole like retaining wall, whatever, like we're gonna need city money for that, in the same way that we needed like city money to reopen the High Bridge.
Yeah.
So I don't wanna make this a laundry list of all of the things.
Yeah.
But for as much time as we spend as a board talking about bathrooms and talking about accessible trains, I think we really need to have that in there. And I not the hill I'll die on, but I wouldn't hate it if we specifically mentioned Anita Gorman. Park.
So
Amelia.
I want to respond to some of these things. Addiction treatment is important. We have on-point services in our district. What we've learned over the last few months since last summer is because the treatment facilities do offer items in general, what that's allowed is our users to just take items and go. Now, that doesn't mean they should be defunded or underfunded. Of course not. I'm happy to incorporate that. But the request coming out of NYPD is they need to be really cognizant that they're just giving the tools to go out and cause the needle problem that we're facing as a community right now.
But the public health treatment of addiction services
It's
and
still-
the needles,
Yeah.
it's hard to talk about the one without the other, so I think to most effectively talk about the one, it's helpful to mention the other so that there's complete context.
I'm gonna add that in. The other two, accessibility of trains, I think is MTA, so we wouldn't address it in this. They are responsible.
There's a city component, there's a city funded component to, no? Okay, it's purely state, in that case.
Unless you want to talk about streets, which would be DOC.
Yeah, but
it's
that's different.
Yeah.
So then I withdraw that comment.
And then public bathrooms, I did think about this. So we are passing a borough board resolution that responds to Mayor Mamdani's initiative he announced in Harlem, I think at the top of February, about public restrooms because he's now working on this whole project. We're passing a borough board resolution about the areas where we think need it the most. I will get input on that when I know more about when that resolution is happening. But that was part of my thinking is to not putting it in the top three.
So our board will have an opportunity to suggest.
I will ask for input. Steve, you are next. Steve, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I have three, maybe four comments. And let me start where Liz was on the substance abuse treatment, because I was gonna say that before you get into this discussion about the needles, that you at least have a sentence that talks to our crying need for additional mental health services, which would include substance abuse treatment. I mean, mental health services being a really pressing, overarching need for the community as a whole. I would hate for you to have a topic that mentions public health without mentioning the need for the mental health services, and especially when we're still pushing to get the full reinstatement of all the beds at the hospital. So that was that was my suggestion on number three. On number one, we need to be very careful here at the on the last line where you refer to 1/3 of the median income. The median income is not an income that people in our community really relate to. The area median income includes the suburbs. It's a much higher income level than our
But read the
communities.
top of the paragraph. I made a very specific reference to the American Community Surveys for this district, which is $66,305.
Right. So I asked that you make it very clear again
Say it
on
again.
the last line, and usually the standard is not 1/3. It's always been 30% of your disposable income should go towards rent. So I would ask that you say 30% and not 1/3. In the next one on education, and I don't know, Tanisha, forgive me, but the charter schools are technically considered public schools.
I know.
So that when you say that, in the middle here, when you say, for these reasons and to promote the growth and improvement of the New York City public school system, even though you don't mean to include charter schools, that phrase does include charter schools.
How would you rephrase?
So I would say, maybe you want to say the traditional public school system, or the regular public school system, or or maybe you just want to refer to Community School District 6.
Okay.
Community School District 6.
But you can't leave it the way it is. And
Mhm.
and let me just put one other question out there, which is of particular concern at the moment. Do we know whether public funds, there is an obligation because the charter schools are considered public schools. There is an obligation on the part of the city to help pay for rent when the charter schools cannot be co-located in an existing school building. Do we know whether or not the obligation extends to helping them pay for a brand new building? Is that part of the obligation as well?
So it's interesting you mentioned that because I'm sorry, I've been screen sharing this Google form, folks. I apologize.
No.
You sure?
No,
I
pretty sure.
I don't think it does, and that
Okay.
actually
But
goes
pretty
to
sure.
that point about the citywide needs statement because at the bottom it lists all like these.
Okay, well,
projects,
that's,
but
all right,
it
well,
doesn't
then,
actually-
I mean, if that's the case, then that's okay, then, I was gonna ask that we address that in some way, but if we don't have to worry about it, that's good.
should probably pause my screen. So
I mean, it wouldn't be the worst thing to fact check that, but I'm pretty sure
Okay.
that, no.
No.
Okay.
I read
And-
Like that school that
Right.
Zeta is.
Yeah.
That we're not, that's
Okay.
not
No,
being paid for
we
with
don't pay
taxpayer
for
dollars.
buildings,
Not-
we
not-
pay when they cohabit our New York City public school buildings and when they have to pay rent
Yes,
at somebody else's
yeah,
spot.
right,
We-
okay,
And we can't ask questions, whatever they say the rent is, that's what we pay.
okay.
Mhm.
And even though charter schools are supposed to be public schools, we have to understand that charter schools are ran by boards.
Oh, we know.
Oh, yeah, we know that, but.
So they're really like
Sure.
um,
And,
a problem.
and I'm allowed to say this, even though I may not be able to vote on this point, but I endorse Liz's addition of Gorman Park.
So-
And if Liz wanted to also suggest adding the lighthouse link, I would also support that.
Okay, I will just say one of the things I'm trying to strike here though is citywide budget and needs of our community.
Mhm.
And so like the balance as you can kind of see in that second one where you were referring to, I'm gonna take your amendment about regular public school,
Yeah.
but leave community district 6 as like a parenthetical as opposed to
Very
just
good.
make it about them.
Very good.
Okay, so after Steve, it's Tanisha.
Seen my hand.
I do, yes.
So
I know you're after Tanisha.
I agree with Steve on the medium income, cause who is making $66,305?
You think that's too high?
It's way too high. You know how many people live on like Social Security and SSD in our community? You know how much they get a month? $1,000. And people just got a raise. That's what a lot of people, I would say majority of the people in our neighborhood live below the income level.
Yeah.
We do. So that's why I also agree with Steve, because the way they even calculate this, I don't know who this person is, but even if I look, here, look.
I know that was way too high, but this is based off of HUD. So
Yeah,
what
so
he's showing me is the area
Well,
medium income.
For a family size of 4, it's 48,600.
30%,
That sounds more
Yeah.
accurate. 66 seems awful.
but that's 30%. I never.
30% of the,
Yeah. See, I don't understand what that cross row is.
yeah. This seems like the poor people here. But
So I'm
even
willing to
that,
take one of those numbers. I
Yeah.
need some data point to put in here to
I would-
structure it.
yeah, I would do this because even that,
Yeah, let me
it's
look
not
at this now. I
uh,
yeah.
and that's one of the reasons why our rent is so high, because they include us with, rich counties like Westchester.
Yeah. No, I know.
So it's
Um,
all messed up from the gate. And then, yeah, what Steve basically said, like more than 3 billion of New York City public school budget goes to charter schools. Everybody needs to know that. More than $3 billion. out of our New York City public school. So if you want to use something for public education about, and you need like a budget ask and money, I suggest we just had the chief, this CEEF, Coalition of Equitable Education Funding. Maybe we could concentrate on upgrades to foundation aid. There's numbers there that we can attach, and they was just on, we had them on last month, on what you call it. And I have a presentation that I could send you and you can just go from there.
Okay.
We could concentrate on foundation aid.
No, your Alexis is next, then Indiana, then you.
And then
Then yes, Alexis, go ahead.
This is just a point of.
Luana said something that's important on there. She said Easter somewhere, there's a better
AMI.
Thank you. Thank you, Tanisha. I'm trying to raise my hand, but I can't. But whenever
No, I'll
anybody else,
take your
I want to get
comment
up.
after.
But I put it on the chat though.
Thank you. Alexis, go
Thank
ahead.
you.
Just as a point, because I
Thank you,
work with
Tanisha.
Pond Point. So because I work with Pond Point over the summer, we should also know that they got drastically cut by Trump, drastic. Yeah, as soon as Trump came into office, they lost all their money to expand their Harlem Street team. And this past June, they should have had two federally funded contracts that the federal government refused to renew.
So that would be, if we know what those numbers are, so sorry, I need to recenter this conversation a little bit. Because part of this, I love all of these
This is,
ideas,
you know,
but I really,
however you want to use.
to Kiana's feedback, I think we do need to have like a closing sentence on each of these three that says, this is what we're asking for in the budget. If we know what that number is, the amount they lost, like that's an example of, okay, at the end of that, we say because of funds lost federally for some of these issues, we recommend the city apportion X million or billion towards this
I'll reach
issue.
out to Jason.
Thank you. Next is Indiana.
Thank you. I just wanted to suggest that we tweak the language a little bit in the public education number 2. I think that, yes, we want to have, I understand what you're saying, that we want to like highlight some of the issues in our community, but also address, I guess, spending right on schools and charter schools more broadly throughout the city. But I don't think that this like gets the message across strong enough about, it says, yes, sorry, let me get my act together. One of the issues that I've heard frequently is that, yes, there's a lottery system for these schools, but also that even when you do have kids from our community who get accepted, if they have any kind of challenge, whether it's a behavioral challenge or, like learning challenges, whatever it may be, special needs, that those kids kind of get weeded out quickly. And that's a recurring, I think, complaint that I've heard about charter schools. So I would love to mention that somehow in this. So it's not just that you're attracting other students, it's that there's also like a reputation of like any student that raises a challenge or like language access challenges. We've heard that the charter schools aren't good about language access services and that those kids kind of get kicked out or weeded out.
Okay. Thank you for that. I will incorporate that, Indiana. Thanks.
Thanks.
Jim?
Thank you. This concerns the third item. I agree, and so essentially, the overarching thing is we need help with mental health in general. And as part of that, we need help with drug abuse. And the drug abuse, unfortunately, produces this needle problem, which is a very significant problem because the second an average citizen sees needles all over the place, they freak out as they should. So the needle problem, although the real problem is drug addiction, and the even more real problem is the lack of mental health services, the needle problem has this unique aspect to it. And the other thought I had about the needle problem, and it may well be that the organizations that give out these needles for a perfectly, justifiable reason, they might make us, and again, they may already be doing it, but they might suggest very strongly to their clients that the clients, not leave the needles all over the place and bring them back, or they might even get a premium, get an extra bag of whatever, I don't know. But, they could possibly do a better job with that. And again, once you're strung out, you may just not pay attention to the needles. I've never been there.
Right.
But, that's another piece. But the needles, and I've heard this from neighbors, when they see a needle, they just go batshit, part of the expression, because it says something very bad. And of course, if they don't see the needles, the problem is almost as bad, but the needles reflect on public safety and all these other things. So I agree the needles are very important. But again, I think in the thing, you're right. You can create this hierarchy and then highlight the fact that these needles scattered about are in fact a real problem, and the other drug paraphernalia. So I hope that was helpful.
It was. Yeah.
Also, when we talk about mental health services, culturally relevant mental health services, okay? Because I have been through a few therapists, and let me tell you, if a therapist cannot relate to your life, all they got for you is some pills. And that's a reason why a lot of mental health services don't work, because they are not culturally relevant to the community that they are serving. And it's just a revolving door and no one gets real help. So I think that's a big point. Like, we want culturally relevant mental health services, because if we had, real mental health service, if we had culturally relevant mental health services, we have clinics in our community where it's a revolving door.
Yeah.
The people who are coming to work there, they are young residents and they are just doing their residency. And then as soon as their residency is done, they move on to where they want to be. So what is that like for the people in our community? That means every 6 months you're getting a new therapist. So every 6 months, you got to tell your story over again. You got to get to know somebody, and it's really a revolving door. So we want people who want to come in our community and provide mental health services and stay in our community, because most mental health services, the people who come in our community, therapists and such, they're young, they have no experience, and it's a revolving door because they're just doing their residency so they can go where they want to work. So that's important.
Added. Steve,
Tinish, I want to talk to you some more about that.
do you have a comment?
I don't remember it.
Okay,
I have to
and
go to
then
the Bronx, honey.
Luana provided her comment, unless Luana, you want to say anything out loud?
Sorry, I was unmuting myself. No, it all looks good, but yeah, your intuition serves you well when we speak about charter schools, respectfully.
Yeah, it was, so your comment was in essence that AMI accounts for outliers. Okay.
Yeah, no,
All
maybe to
right, so-
clarify.
Yeah, if you could actually for me, because I need to
Sure.
ground this. Yeah.
We are all, a lot of these initiatives, funding, concerns, whatever those may be, will always revolve around the AMI. But like Tanisha said, the AMI is a poor illustration, because when you lump together, the west side of Broadway that is very wealthy versus the east of Broadway, right? Of course, it's going to seem like everybody's making $63,000 a year, and that is not true. An accurate mapping would be by area, so that then average salaries per those areas can illustrate more income, both income accuracy and income inequality. So, and that way we can see a real illustration of what people make. Let's say on Cabrini, no disrespect, I have aspired to live there, but I cannot afford it anymore, unfortunately. Versus, let's say, Amsterdam, right? So that's my clarification, that sometimes the AMI is not necessarily a true depiction of what income looks like in our district, but also income inequality or wealth, or even generational wealth for that matter.
Okay, I'm gonna allow Liz to speak, and then I need to pause for a moment to figure out what the next steps are here, because I have less than 24 hours to submit this, Liz.
So when we were talking about lateness, one of the ways that we were thinking of defining it was lateness relative to when the meeting actually began and quorum was achieved. And someone, this was when we talked about it 2 months ago, I think it was Indiana, said, well, essentially, there's an irony in defining the starting time of a meeting that was late because the people who were supposed to show up to make a quorum were late. In the same way, AMI, there are 6,132 counties in the United States. The county with the largest income disparity is Manhattan, is New York County. So to ever use AMI, which the feds define on a county basis, to use the county as the area is fundamentally ironic in the worst possible way because there's such an income disparity. To Luana's and Tanisha's point, this part of Manhattan also has pretty wide disparity. So it is helpful, I think, to look at a more granular definition. And I don't know where this 66,305 comes from, but that just can't be right.
It's the American Community Survey.
Yeah, well, I don't know who they are, but
So it's part
or
of.
what?
It's part of the United States Census.
Okay, so the census, which
But it breaks it down, it actually breaks it down using census data on a neighborhood basis. So it bases it off Washington Heights and England. Now, to your point, it obviously doesn't go
which
deeper than that.
grossly underreports
I
the
understand.
people who have the low income.
Yeah. You have a clarifying point, and then I need
Yeah, I just want to make it clear that you got area median income isn't even limited to just Manhattan. I mean, it's the crazy thing about this area median income is that it includes like all of New York City, includes Westchester. I think it even includes parts of Jersey.
Yes,
It
it
includes
does.
a much larger area. It's completely insane.
It is.
It is absolutely inappropriate for using to apply it to anything in our community. It just doesn't. It's ridiculous.
Right.
So, so really, that's why I wanted to begin earlier that you should be very, very cautious in using that term at all, because it's going to throw us off completely.
So I took a lot of notes here. I'm incorporating these notes for the document that I have to submit tomorrow.
We trust you.
The numbers that I still want to address based off Kiana's great feedback. I think what would be a good grounding number for number 2 is the number that Chief had reported out. Is that how you pronounce it, Chief?
Chief. I think it's Chief.
Or otherwise, what is the number that is allocated to charter schools that are quote unquote regular public schools are not getting?
3 billion plus.
There you go. On number 3, I think it's whatever number was lost from federal contracts as a result of this current presidential administration.
Yeah, I
So
just texted Jason.
keep me posted. Number 1, Wayne, I know you sent me comments. I have not yet had an opportunity to go in them. Do they address a potential number that we could attach to number 1 in some way, which I know is a very hard thing to do, but
No, it does not address a capital number. It does mention that we should refer to capital funds, but it doesn't, refer to a number. But we might look at, what in the past was the capital allocation that went towards affordable housing at the height of the program, because I am pretty certain it is nowhere near that now.
Do you know roughly when that was? So I'm happy to do that research if you have like a year
No.
span.
Yeah, Steve may have a better idea, but I think, during the Dinkins administration and thereabouts, was about, the time when the city was putting the most. I mean, it started under Koch, but under Dinkins it was expanded, and I believe under Giuliani it began to trickle down.
Imagine that.
Sounds right.
Of course it did.
okay.
I don't think you really have to worry tonight about these numbers. Because I mean, the borough president's office is gonna come up with something that's gonna cover the whole borough.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're gonna pinpoint a particular district. Yeah, I wouldn't be so focused on it. The important thing is that you've identified three particular issues that are worth their attention, and that's what they're looking for.
Okay. All right. Well, with that,
I move that we empower you to
Sorry.
write this letter.
More HDFCs. That is the pathway to home ownership for middle and lower income people. We don't have enough of those.
I will find it. Well, is that a state program?
HDFCs?
Yeah.
Well,
that's
no, it's authorized by the state, but it's been carried out by the city.
Okay.
But it's all linked to how many city-owned properties there are that we've seized through tax foreclosures, and we stopped doing that years ago.
I don't know
So
who that worked out for.
So I don't know if there's if there's a universe of those buildings that are now eligible to be converted into the HDFC low-income co-ops. I think we've exhausted that list.
Okay. There is a motion.
The biggest stabilized apartments
In this
in this, we could
Did I
put
not
that
include
to,
that?
yeah, like,
Yes, I will
That's
include
a
that.
big
That is a
thing.
good factor.
Yeah.
Well, I think
especially with the rent drive-bys board and everything that's going
The
on.
important point here, Anthony, might be that we wanted to concentrate on developing city-owned properties for affordable housing, because when you have city-owned properties, you can guarantee permanent affordable housing.
Which is a promise of our current mayor over a 10-year period. So I will write that. Liz has a motion. Does someone second her motion?
Second,
Let's just do all in favor.
favor,
Any
Yeah.
opposed? That requires us to go into a roll call.
You have to ask that.
Yeah. Anyone opposed on Zoom, unmute yourself and say I'm opposed.
Well, should ask if they support it.
If you support it though, now unmute yourself and say aye.
Is there any opposition?
I hear a lot of ayes. That does it for me. Well, let's move on to announcements, where again, I'm going to ask if a committee wants to speak, please keep it brief. I'll start with aging. I know there's an announcement from aging, so I do want to give Erwin the opportunity. I believe Richard had to leave. So Erwin, if you want to speak. Yes, please. No more than 3 minutes. Erwin?
I wasn't. Hey, how are you?
Did you
I
want
wasn't brief on the announcement from Richard. I'm not sure, Liz, are you aware of it?
Yeah, so it was the substance of one of the substances of our last meeting was talking a lot about the ways in which ageism shows up as a problem. And one of the things that we talked about at the end of the meeting is that there are so many ways that ageism plays out in ways that relate to a variety of committees. The work of, so the overlap of ageism as for health or for transit or for use of open spaces, for housing, for, you get the point. So one of the things that we thought would be a good idea is if on a rotating basis, a member of the aging committee, if we had members of the aging committee attend all of the other committees on the board to talk about that overlap. And so Mary, like the specific health and environmental issues of aging, the specific traffic and transportation issues of aging, the specific issues confronting an aging population with respect to licensing, whether it's cannabis, whether it's for hire vehicles, or whether it's bars and restaurants. So
one of the things that Mary suggested is that we talk at the executive committee to just throw out this idea that we would very much like for aging to be a short discussion item at each of your next at each of the committees, not necessarily next month, but at some point in the next month or two or three, that each of the committees make a little bit of time to talk about what is the overlap of concerns for the aging with the work of your committee. That's the announcement.
And I support that wholeheartedly. So chairs, I hope you're able to accommodate that request. I don't think we need to have a discussion about it. So
We don't.
thank you for sharing that. Next, I'm gonna do a wonky mix up here. So next I'm gonna do parks. Parks, I saw you had put something in the chat, Luana, if you want to just briefly say it out loud.
No, just two announcements we are currently working on two resolutions. Once again, putting forth 1% for parks and also the memorialization of Sally Fisher.
Is that going before the board this month?
Next month.
Okay. Thank you.
What was the first one?
1% for parks.
Oh,
Radia, I don't know if you're still on, if you have any announcements from business development.
No announcements.
Thank you so much. Eleazar is not here and I don't think he has representation. Steve, any announcements?
well, if I can just follow up on what Liz said before, well, we may have misunderstood what Richard was telling us at our meeting. I thought he was asking us to get a speaker about ageism, and we then asked Columbia and the hospital whether they might be able to provide us with a speaker to talk on the question of ageism. I didn't understand that he was saying that he would be the speaker.
I like yours too.
So since I wasn't at the meeting, I can't really
You're right.
speak to what Richard said, and I
Yeah.
certainly can't speak to what he meant.
Yeah.
I was at the same meeting he was, and the idea that we threw out was what I said. I
Right.
know this because I'm the one who threw out the idea.
Yeah.
That said, Richard's idea to have a speaker from Columbia is excellent. And as my daughter would say, ¿por qué no los dos? You know, why pick?
Okay.
Love it.
All right, so we did have at my last meeting a presentation from the hospital on its community health needs assessment and community service plan, because one of the speakers took ill, so I'm hoping that'll be rescheduled for our April meeting. Our April meeting is gonna be April 15th, is it not? Was that agreed to on the calendar?
Is that what you said? Because your email said this.
If you wanted it.
Well,
now
you
one-
said April 15th, didn't
Yes,
you?
yes, April 15th.
15th. Okay, yes. You're at 7 p.m. on April.
Yes, and we're gonna try as best we can to review the Zeta Charter School EAS.
Great, thank you.
Let us know how that goes.
Next
It
is
doesn't even have page numbers. in the-
Wayne. Wayne, do you have any announcements at land use?
So at land use, we met with the borough president's new land use director. We'll meet with the deputy director later. She was unavailable. We continue to discuss the Zeta Charter School BSA application, primarily to get input from the 34th precinct on, their concerns. Not with the school. They made it very clear they are not objecting to schools. They have concerns about locating any school at that location. And we also heard other feedback, really focused on that location. And just to give a quick update on, the seminar from today, city planning provided a sort of a walkthrough of, in a little more detail, the impacts of the ballot initiatives that passed and how that impacts the charter and, the review of ULURPs and accelerated ULURPs. There is a link that will be provided to the YouTube recording of that so that folks who are not able to attend can get that. But I've also asked our colleagues at City Planning if they're able to come to our April 9th meeting. We're not meeting on the 1st. We're avoiding conflicts with the holidays, so we're meeting on April 9th. But if someone from City Plan can come and walk us through, that so that the entire land use committee can hear it, but also other board members, and I think housing in particular, can get a sense of what those changes mean.
Thank you, Wayne. Next is
Wayne, is your committee doing a resolution on the Zeta Charter School issue?
We will be doing a resolution, but we're waiting to get input from other committees, and I think yours is the last. So there have been lots of questions vis-a-vis, is there an environmental? And yes, there's a very extensive environmental. Not that, everything in there is something we want to review and comment on, but I'm sure there are certain aspects of the EIS that health and environment want to pay particular attention to. One of the things that I pointed out to TNT is in terms of the traffic analysis, it's pointed out that high school students are not being, bused to school the same with elementary school students are. When I went to high school, I wasn't bused, nor did I want to be. And I was never bused to school. But if they're coming by subway, the analysis doesn't take the sidewalk and intersection area all the way up to the A train or all the way down to the 1. So that was my question is, it's a very limited assessment of the intersections and the streets that are included in that. And the basic question is, why is that? If they're coming by train, you're not even analyzing what's the impact at those intersections.
Right, so how are we going to come together on this in order to pass a resolution by the end of April?
Well, I mean, we can talk about that offline, but what we've done in the past is each committee can forward. I mean, for example, I know that TNT has concerns about, traffic and other things. So, I mean, if you could send those comments to me, or if the committee has actually passed a resolution and they could share that, we can pull from that and put it in the land use. But as I pointed out, the BSA has jurisdiction over very limited things, but one of the 4 findings that is something they look at is the traffic and safety impacts. And it sounds that there are a lot of concerns about that.
Okay.
That would be relevant to BSA, yes.
Thank you, Wayne. Next is Isidro. Isidro, do you have any comments out of your committee?
Yes. Thank you, Anthony. So just FYI, the license committee will definitely be meeting on the 15th. So we're pushing a week later. So please, if you know some operators, please let them know that we're going to meet on the 3rd week of the month. Also, as you probably know, the licensing committee has taken over providing input for cannabis. So we had our first operator coming in. We heard the many discussions and reasons as to why they want to open. We approved the new dispensary. I'll give you more details at the general board meeting. Anthony, we did have a decent amount of residents complaining about one particular operator, and that is 141 Nago, Caramelo. A lot of residents are complaining about noise, patrons hanging out, urinating, vomiting, excessive noise, and it seems like the operator is not cooperating. This problem was also brought to,
Public safety.
well, public safety, was also brought to the precinct. So a lot of problems. And I checked, this license is going to be coming up for renewal in May or June. So I asked them to come back for the renewal, and that we'll let them know the process as to when they should come and bring those complaints. But it's very concerning about this particular area. And I think that I don't know if we should write a note to the SLA, because I don't know, I don't want to create precedents, but there are very serious concerns about this particular location.
Well, I'm happy to take the minutes and send it to our contact at the SLA and say, for your awareness, please review these minutes, because we had a number of, we don't have to take a position. We just point them to the minutes, so I can do that.
Great. And other than that, we had 12 resolutions on the floor for the SLA, and then and that's basically it.
Okay. Thank you so much. Next is Indiana Housing.
Hi, thank you. I just want to put two things on everyone's radar. One, we heard from The Bridge, which is an organization that does supportive housing. They talked to us about the development that will occur at 3816 9th Avenue. So that's between 204th and 205th Street. And it's going to be a mixed use building, and they're partnering with Manhattan Bible Church. What I wanted to put on everybody's radar is that it's going to be all affordable housing, all supportive housing. Their rents are going to be set for what they think folks within 40 to 60% of the AMI can afford. It will be 129 units. There will be 51 bedrooms, so 50 units that are one bedroom, 19 that are two bedroom, which they say, they're hoping to target bigger families, and then 60 studios. And during our conversation, Tanisha asked, why are there so many studios? And they said that because of their supportive housing and drug rehab kind of programming that they plan to have, they said that most of those clients are living on their own, and so would go into the studio units. They are going to have a clinic on the first floor, health clinic that will be open to the whole community. The mental health services are, I believe, also going to be open to the full community. And then they're also going to have like a supportive housing programming that will just be available to the tenants. The other thing I wanted to put on folks' radar, they committed to doing training when the time opens up for applying for those units. But it's a state-funded development, and so the applications are going to be open statewide for that. So just wanted to keep that on our radar, but they're expected to open in 2029, and those applications will open up 3 months beforehand. So we've got some time. The other thing I wanted to put on your radar is next month, we hope to introduce a resolution for the changes to the SNAP food benefits program. They are implementing work requirements.
This month. They already went into effect.
Yes, exactly. So they're implementing work requirements for folks between age 18 and 64. And so one of the ideas that we're going to introduce also in the resolution is a call for volunteer opportunities that would qualify, because it doesn't have to actually be a job. They're supposed to be volunteer requirements that qualify. So something for our community board to, I think, encourage organizations in our community board to let us know what volunteer opportunities may be available to those in our community that need them. The issue is that the federal government hasn't yet come out with like the specific guide.
Indiana, that is your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I start a question?
Is it a clarifying question about it has to be like
Indiana,
yes or no?
is there anything in writing that gives details about the Bridge Health Clinic?
Not in writing. We didn't receive it. I'm happy to ask if they've got anything that they can send our way.
Yeah, please.
Thank you,
I'd like some details about it.
Great. And next is youth and education.
Okay, so I just want to take one of my minutes to also mention that this bridge, this housing project or whatever, they didn't think to make it a thing to make sure that people in the community get first dibs. Anybody anywhere can come and move into this building. It is not prioritized for our community. And when we asked them about it, they was like, oh, it never crossed their mind. So keep that in mind. So yes, youth and education, we had an amazing meeting as usual. We had a sheath presentation about upgrades to the foundation aid formula, which we need desperately. The foundation aid formula was created in 2007 and has not had an upgrade. We just got the money in like 2021, okay, after a whole long fight. And we also had Zeta Charter School, Lord Jesus. And they kept talking about rigor, Chair, rigor and college classes that are mandated. It was a little weird, but also Noemi, our beautiful committee, community board member, wrote a resolution for CEC 6
that's called Establishing the District 6 Black Studies Focused Curriculum Initiative using New York City Public Schools provided resources and creating an annual District 6 Black History Celebration Day every February. So we just incorporated into Community Board 12 and my community passes, so you will see it when it goes out for general.
Thank you. And last, traffic and transportation.
Right. Hello, everyone. Let me share a quick report. So our meeting went till 11:06. So first the committee heard from DDC on the Inwood 10th Avenue Safety Improvement Project, which include the pedestrian upgrade, bus stop improvement, ADA accessibility, and safer crossing at key locations. Members raised concern about flooding traffic, redirection near
I'm sorry,
Dyckman.
I can only hear, like, please. What were you saying?
What just
No,
happened?
please continue.
Okay. So, members raised concern about flooding that is happening. So traffic redirection near the Dyckman and Fort George Hill, blocked bike lanes and neighborhood maintenance. So these were things that were being discussed. CB12 will be sending recommendation from our committee to DDC and DOT for further review. So the committee also discussed Seda Charter School and a special permit that they're asking for the 461 Broadway. So many of the concerns were focused on traffic congestion in 181st, as we know, pedestrian safety, parking losses, construction impact, and the site proximity to the gas station. So the committee voted on not supporting the application at this time and recommended further community review, including a possible public hearing. So that's something here left up to the executive board to consider. DOT also presented a safety improvement for Amsterdam Avenue, where 33 injuries were reported between 2021 and 2025. The committee supports the proposal with conditions, including traffic study and a continued coordination with Yeshiva University. So lastly, residents also raised concerns about the Riverside Drive Viaduct project, especially the emergency access, which there's safety hazards and lack of communication. So traffic and transportation will be requesting an on-site meeting again with DOT to continue the follow-up. And we adjourned the meeting at 11:20, by the way. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Naomi. You have a quick question.
So it
Oh,
sounds.
I'm sorry. Heidi did have her hand up. Heidi,
Yeah,
please
this
go.
is sorry, this is actually a question that was for youth and education. But I was looking on the CB12 website, and while the hearing on charter schools is on the paper calendar, that if you click a link that says like go to the calendar, it's there, but the landing page where it has all the meetings and the Zoom links, the hearing is not on that, which means that if you are subscribed to the calendar for the board, it's not on your iCal or Outlook calendar. So I just wanted to flag that because I think we want to maximize attendance, and I had noticed that maybe if I'd missed an email or didn't know about it, I may not have been notified through the calendar. So sorry, I meant to say that. after.
Thank you, yes, we're having a hearing at the end of the month.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Yep, I will add it. I will add it to the
Yeah,
calendar.
sorry.
We're trying to get through, honey,
Steve?
we helping each other out.
Noemi, two quick things. I think I heard you say that you passed a resolution about the Zeta Charter School.
Yes.
So that's coming before the full board.
Yes.
This month.
Yes.
We have a resolution.
Yes, traffic and transportation is objecting to the application.
Yes, we
all right.
voted no.
So
I gotta-
one second, but so then is there any point in land use and my committee?
Yes,
Yes.
because
The traffic and transportation resolution does not address the BSA issues, so it would have to be, it would be added, yes.
yes.
But is it all gonna be wrapped into one?
Yes.
When sent to BSA, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, and number two, the first thing you reported on, I think you said were various street changes on 10th Avenue. And you said the committee has recommendations that are gonna be sent to DDC and to DOT. Is that also gonna be in the form of a resolution that's presented to the full board?
In terms of.
I'm gonna share the minutes on that. It was a really long meeting. I would have to go through the minutes for that. But I'll share the meetings with you, the meeting
Okay.
minutes with you, Steve, so you could take a look at that.
Because if you
I know
do
it's
have
addressed there.
recommendations,
I just
if you
can't
do
think
have
of it.
recommendations, you should put them in the form of a resolution that the full board will vote on.
Okay, I appreciate that.
I
Thank
got
you.
a quick question.
Go for it.
Or rather a request. Can all of the people who gave a report for their committees, just quick email me a couple of sentences as to what their report was? Cause there was a lot going on for some of these and I may have missed some of it. I pretty much got, yeah, I mean, I got youth and education, traffic and transportation, seemed like there was a lot going on. So if you're okay with my very high level summary of what I think you said, fine. But if you're invested in a little bit more of the detail, if you could send me 3 or 4 or 5, if you must, sentences summarizing your reports, that would be great.
Thank you. I have just quick closing thoughts on the announcements portion of this agenda. So it oftentimes is the case where when folks present from their committee, they are saying what they're going to say at the general meeting. I don't necessarily have a problem with that, particularly when our agenda is short. My goal with executives is to make sure that this body and the public who watches this are aware of upcoming things, aka announcements that are imminent. So this way we're not just repeating ourselves for what we're saying at the general meeting. Now, I give everyone the opportunity to speak for 3 minutes, and if you want to give your full report, you're more than welcome to. But just think about that, where particularly we have a long agenda, to limit to what is absolutely imminent and urgent. With that, if I
Does feel redundant.
that
Putting
it's
it right
presented
here,
at the general
and then again,
meeting,
Jen.
and we're the same members. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, motion second.
All right, thank you, everyone. It is 9:24. Have a good rest of your evening.
Thank you.